Inside the room is our protagonist sweating like crazy with his VR headset, and inside the game he's being congratulated for finally having beaten it. Back in reality, he's smiling. He had finally managed to complete it. This game was considered a scam game, basically a complete scam. That's because when Prophecy Online launched, everyone was hyped. That's because it was the first fully realistic virtual reality game. An incredible immersion never seen before, with 16K resolution that was perfect, as good as reality. Besides being able to hear, well, that's something any headset already does. You could also smell things, which is already peculiar, and also feel. Now that's why I want to come soon. An open world, extremely realistic. And the developers made a strange proposal. Whoever managed to beat the game would win immeasurable riches, enough for someone to live in luxury for over 10,000 years. Obviously, nobody believed a description like that, but the game was realistic enough for everyone to want to give it a shot. But that changed one day. Well, actually, this all happened a little later. A few days before, at work, everyone's there clocking out. Our protagonist is just some construction worker suffering under the blazing sun. Sad thing is, today he has to collect a bunch of leftover materials. The worst part of the job. He's out in the world hunting for a better job. But for now, a part-time gig as a construction worker is what he's got. The routine is basically being under the sun and then getting yelled at by the supervisors. While he's there all bitter, he receives a message from the Prophecy Online admins. It was directed to the top rank, King Sama. He finds it kinda weird because he had disabled all notifications. In the message, he's being congratulated for ranking first in the beta test. The rewards would be credited to his account and you should take a look. Besides that, you should keep enjoying life in that world. The protagonist laughs, saying that every time he gets these scam messages, but when he goes to check his bank account, there really are 1 million Korean won there, which is like $7,000. At that moment, a coworker comes over and tells him to get back to work, puts a hand on his shoulder, and asks why he's just standing there like an idiot. In that very second, bro, the protagonist takes off running, completely stunned that you could actually make money from a game. That made him believe that maybe that promise of money enough to live for 10,000 years might be true. And man, he was top one in the beta. Of course he's going to give it a shot. But soon he realized he had been way too naive. The game was cruel and didn't forgive anyone. Players were nothing more than sacrificial pawns, and the Tower Guardians would destroy players along with their character data. Not to mention, in that damned dungeon, the doors were always random. The worst part, man, was when you got hit in the chest with an attack that hurts like hell. Your real body felt the exact same pain, and it was impossible to block. That made this game, which at first looked beloved, start losing more and more players. The protagonist was only making just enough to live month to month at that part-time job. And now there are some guys banging on his door, asking when he's going to pay back the money and yelling for him to come out because the rent is late. Looks like the protagonist, clearly crazy in the head, had borrowed money even from loan sharks just to keep playing, and now he owed both of them. Even in this crazy situation, he kept investing all his time in that game, because that promise of infinite wealth for 10,000 years was something he couldn't let slip by. And now there it was, the message congratulating King Sama for completing the game. The message said that the experience he gained there would be extremely valuable. Our guy takes off the VR headset, his eyes shining with joy. Right away, he throws himself on the bed, grabs his phone to check the bank account, and receives a message from the people who developed the game congratulating him. Or actually, it was a message to all the Prophecy Online players, saying that they had achieved the goal they were aiming for now that someone had completed the game. And that's why, starting today, the servers would become inaccessible. Obviously, our boy wants to know where his rewards are. But the message only thanks everyone who's been participating in the game all these years. Oh, poor guy, he drops the phone on the floor, bro, it shatters completely. While lying there asking himself, where's the reward? He finished it. He completed what they said would be extremely valuable, so it's certain it'll show up in his account. He decides to lie on the bed and wait a bit. Sooner or later, the money should drop. It was probably such a huge amount that it was taking him a while to transfer. But obviously, nothing was deposited in his account. That 1 million he received a long time ago, bro, had been gone for a long time already. And now he wonders if things wouldn't have been better if he had given up on this stupidity a bit earlier. In the middle of all that doubt, not wanting to leave his room, bro, week goes by. He's waking up in the morning to a bunch of noise, not understanding what's going on. It wasn't his phone, so what was going on? Then the legendary, yes, the legendary, little system window pops up for the boy. The first window says that the main event of the ice test over in Moscow had ended, the place had been destroyed. The Earth test would now begin with a duration of 43 days. During that time, they had to defeat the boss, and the test area this time would be Japan. And in case of failure, the entire area would be destroyed. The protagonist doesn't understand what kind of madness this is. But on TV, the news doesn't lie. The reporter tells everyone to look at the situation in Moscow. The city had already been completely devastated, and no one had any hope that they would survive that. Strange giant creatures had appeared and were setting everything on fire. Inside the helicopter, the boy says that what happened in Moscow is coming to Japan. It seemed like the incidents were related to a game called, guess what, Prophecy Online. The monsters looked a lot like the creatures from that game. A guy from Japan says he doesn't believe in that kind of nonsense. It's not like he's in a kaiju movie. Those videos of Moscow were all AI generated. For sure, that destruction was caused by tectonic plate movements. But the boy in the helicopter said it looked like the monster was aiming right in their direction. A second later, bro, the transmission was cut off. People are calling for the poor guy, but obviously, he doesn't respond. Who does know this wasn't caused by a tectonic plate movement is our boy. He's already running to the window with a certainty, even without understanding how, that it looks like the game had become reality. And in a split second, he understood what the developers meant by an extremely valuable reward. While everyone else is lost, not understanding what this system stuff is, those messages popping up, our boy already knows very well the value of everything he went through. Not only that, he's the only one who finished the game, meaning he might also be the only one who knows how to end this game. And in a flash, the boy's motivation kicks in and he opens the door, full anime style. Saying that with this power, what's he gonna do? Make a bunch of money? What the heck, bro? I thought you were gonna save the world. You damn Lloyd Forrester. He's already on the run, bro. This boy is super motivated. The game barely started and he's literally sprinting through the streets, not caring about anything. The dude knows that once the realization hits everyone else, the competition for XP and farming spots is gonna heat up. And he knows a perfect starter dungeon that's nearby. While everyone is out on the streets, kinda trying to head home after a crazy workday, he's sprinting right past them. When suddenly, some guy randomly yells for Endu Rie to stop right there. Our boy jumps in fright, bro, and when he looks, he sees it's some guy named Takuo, one of the idiots he borrowed a ton of money from and never paid back. The guy says he was just on his way to Rie's house, but looks like he finally stepped outside. Damn, did he throw his cigarette to hit him in the face? Flashback to a year ago when the game was still a hit. Some investment companies were offering money to whoever wanted it, with barely any interest. All they had to do was pass a screening process. That way, they'd receive enough cash to be able to play more and work less. Look at that perfect combo. Our boy, the sucker, obviously accepted it, right, man? But actually, what he did was fall into a trap. In the end, the guy said he didn't pass a few parts of the test, and he had to pay 50% more. With those huge fees, he ended up with a debt he could never get rid of. And now Takuo is saying the time has come for him to finally pay what he owes. Endo, however, says that the interest was abusive from the start, and clearly this whole deal is shady. Takuo responds that people who owe money are always like that, always coming up with excuses. But it was all good. He was there for a different reason. As far as he remembers, Endu was playing that damn game every day, and he heard that this exact game he was addicted to seems to have something to do with the world's current situation. So he grabs him by the neck and demands he hand over all the info he has. But our boy just tells him to get his filthy hands off his collar. The sucker's losing his patience, wanting to know if Endo has any idea who he's talking to. But then man, Endu says, "Alright, to help you out a little, I'll give you one piece of info." Then he activates the novice punch ability, bro. The punch deals 50% more damage and he throws out a whole JoJo-style combo. The poor guy gets wrecked, falls to the ground, and our boy says, "The game has changed, and in this new world, I'm the one on top." On top of what, huh? You tell me. What are the odds you even understood that mess I just said? But our boy realizes Takuo couldn't take the hits. Dude's already knocked out. The Farm King man goes right back to running. This guy's unstoppable. I'm just impressed, gotta admit. But over by a car, a girl and a hooded guy saw the ability and were sure it was something from the game. She's already touching her chin, saying she didn't expect someone so experienced this early. One thing is obvious. The laws that define society today were about to collapse. The entire world and how it works would be rewritten. That dude with the e-girl choker on his neck is acting all high and mighty. Although, yeah, I mean, if it's a choker, it has to be on the neck, so I guess that makes sense. What doesn't make sense is our desperate guy who's already at the goat sanctuary. And now there's no doubt, this is exactly the same dungeon that existed in the game. He notices an interesting car next to him and wonders how someone's already here. Well, yeah, people have cars while you're out here running. That's how it works, man. He climbs the dungeon stairs and in the middle of it all, starts to smell blood. Man, I'm scared. This world is super competitive. Our desperate guy already arrived late. Someone had already cut through everything. And damn, it wasn't just one person. There's already a whole group of adventurers. Whoa, it's the Joker guy, man. He says that if the boy made it there, he must be one of the players. The protagonist asks if they really already killed all of that. Oscar replies yes. Those flaming lizards were extremely high-level creatures. That info leaves Endu kinda confused. He knows those monsters are actually the weakest in the game. Then the guy with the choker takes off his hood and says that since he's alone, they could be friends. But obviously our boy would have to become his subordinate. And he'd also have to hand over half the money he earns, man. In return, the guy would protect our boy. The rest of the group is just watching and obviously Endo refuses, saying sorry. But he's more in a Sung Jinwoo kind of vibe, solo leveling style. Besides, he's sure these people don't stand a chance against the boss of this place. Obviously, nobody took that info with a smile. Man, the group already went to the side to talk and their plan is to kill the boy. They say that any player who's not in their party is just going to get in the way. But from the look on the rest of the team's faces, it seems they think that's a bit extreme. However, Tightneck says that's what he decided. And anyone who didn't agree with him would also suffer an accidental death. The boss of this place is known as the Flaming Goat. A creature not that hard to kill, except the problem is that it takes 7 days to respawn. And obviously, he didn't want to risk that this boy who just showed up would land the final blow and get everything. So the plan was to stop him from entering the room until the boss was dead. There were 5 minutes left until the gate opened, and everyone was in position. Our boy there with his hand in his pocket, totally relaxed. Until the others start getting closer and he asks if they really have the guts to try and stop him like that. The guys say yes, and that it's best if he just stands there without moving a muscle. Damn, our protagonist is already feeling confident. He was thinking that if he wanted to, he could beat them all up right now, but he's gonna let them be for now. he's sure it won't be that hard to kill the boss after they've all been wiped. There were 2 seconds left and the door opened. With that, the group went in. Endo, on the other hand, was over by the little wall with his hands in his pocket, sipping a tea. Bro, who drinks tea with a straw? What kind of nonsense is this? Had to be Japanese. The group went in, commenting that the boy didn't even insist on coming along. So Tight Neck says that's convenient. They won't even have to cause a random accident. The girl says it's dangerous if he gets close, but he says he's sure the kid would be too scared to try anything against them. Suddenly, they're face to face with a gigantic room. Tight Neck tells the tank to do his job right and gives a thumbs up saying don't worry, he's got an epic grade shield, it'll be easy to defend. I don't know where this epic shield came from if this is the first dungeon, right? I'm guessing it's from those flame lizards outside, but then it wouldn't be an epic shield, just a regular one. But that's when everyone's expression changes. A strong wind blows through the place and flames appear. The idiot leader's trying to figure out why that's happening in this kind of scenario. What showed up wasn't the flaming goat, no, it was the Hellfire Goat. Man, the creature stared them down, let out a roar toward the ceiling, and everyone was thrown across the room. Some hit their backs, some auntie got wrecked, and everyone started coughing up blood. The leader realized they didn't stand a chance. The ninja was trying to back out and abandon everyone, but a girl tried to hold his arm. That's when the obvious happens, right bro? You entered the boss room. You can't leave now. The door doesn't open. Tight Neck starts ordering tanks to go in and draw the boss' attention. The guys are hesitating, but yeah, this was their only chance to survive. So there he is activating his defense skill while the creature is prepping a hammer the size of a building. Poor guy's there, bro, knowing full well he's not gonna tank that. And just like 1 + 1 is 2, he gets crushed with 3 tons straight on the head. Everyone is horrified because when the hammer lifts, the guy had been turned into a pancake. And strangely, the boss picks up his shield and breaks it with its mouth. That just scares everyone even more since it was an epic grade shield. But it's not like you'd expect much, right man? The boss flattened the guy, like that shield was really gonna help. The leader's trying to figure out why the Hellfire Goat appeared. It was only supposed to be a flame goat, an annoying creature, but beatable with the right strategy. The truth is, the one who knows what happened is Endu. Seems like in the final updates of the game, this monster was swapped into the early game. That's because it was too easy before and people were abusing it, so they put in something harder. And now Tight Neck knows. The world switched to the latest version of the game, not one of the older ones, right man? What he wants to know is why that guy stayed outside, and if he had some kind of plan. He's banging on the door, asking the guy outside for help, saying he'll give him a big cut of the rewards. But obviously, he hears nothing. The leader keeps shouting and shouting, until suddenly, something approaches from behind. The boss swings the hammer again and once more launches everyone flying. The poor souls are sure that at this pace, they're all gonna get wiped out. Suddenly, Endu opens the door and says that whoever's leading doesn't seem very prepared. Tight Neck is sure his whole group was used as a distraction for that damned brat. Suddenly, though, the rest of the group is wanting to run, saying it's better to leave the kid to deal with it on his own. But man, when the girl tried to leave, our boy stuck out his foot and made her fall face first to the ground. Bro, this one shows no mercy for women. Straight red pill. With that, neither she nor anyone else managed to leave the room. The leader came over desperately, begging to leave the door open, saying he'd leave as soon as our boy entered, but only his little hand got stuck in there. The boss approaches, saying that guy screams way too much. He raises the hammer, saying this is the end of his life. I thought our boy would save him, but nope, bro. The guy actually got turned into jelly, and now the rest of the group is all terrified, wondering how they're going to make it out alive. Endu grabs the old leader's sword and says the guy was weak, but the blade isn't bad at all. The boss, though, once again raises his hammer and asks if the boy is really that eager to die. He slams the hammer on the ground, but our boy had already jumped to the back of his head, asking since when a monster like that knows how to talk. He lands 2 slashes, and both of them make the boss's horn fall off. He looks at the 2 group members who survived and says he'll make them an offer. If they paid 10 million, he considers saving them. Obviously, the girl is confused, asking if he's being serious. He says yes. To be humble, he'll do 1 million per person. Of course, the 2 are complaining, saying the game just started, so obviously they don't have that kind of money on hand. Clearly, Otavio was trying to take advantage of them. Endu says it's simple. If they don't have the money, they can pay with their bodies. Nobody wants to die at such a young age. If they swear to serve him from now on and give 90% of everything they earn from monsters, they'll pay it off soon enough, man. The others are scared now, saying even that damn guy who died was less cruel and greedy. But the boss is coming from behind, yelling that the bastard cut off his horn. Now he's a helpless cuckold and throws a fireball. The poor little mage girl tried to raise a barrier, and of course, it didn't help at all. Endo, on the other hand, dodged the attack while the suckers fell to the ground. He smiled at the 2 of them, saying he's impressed they survived again. He's curious to see how long they'll keep it up. Suddenly, the 2 change their expressions and say his offer is actually fair, and they accept. Deal made, and he says now he can finally begin. He turns to the boss and says it's been a while since he last killed this creature. The monster responds that it has no memory of ever being defeated by someone like him. The allies are also sure that's impossible, because it seems there was another update. And yeah, that's actually true. Now I'm confused. Apparently, the creature was so strong that after they added this boss, it reverted back to the older version. Now I don't know if I messed up the translation or what happened, but I know this boss was in the game before and is back again now. The monster came in to attack, but our boy slashed the giant hammer, which was deflected. The The poor creature was confused, but Endu charged in, saying even a level 50 would flinch at a hit like that, but he knows the trick. Once again, the creature comes in for a basic attack, but he seems to be deflecting the strikes to the side. He goes around to the back of the monster again, and this time manages to land a direct cut to the eye. From a distance, the allies watch and realize the bastard is actually managing to make the creature back off. They start cheering him on, hoping he wins so everyone can get out alive. Endu tells the bastards to quit with that dumb cheering, while continuing to dodge attacks. The boss says he may have good dodge skills, but the moment even one hit connects, he's done for. Suddenly, he hits the wall behind him, and the boss says he fell into the trap and now he's cornered. Out of respect, he wants to know what the boy's final words will be. But Endu replies that for someone who hasn't landed a single hit, he's pretty confident. Then the monster starts charging an attack, a type of black flame. This was known as the fire that burns anything, a type of ability that could kill even a level 99 player, but it had a critical flaw. The moment it was activated, the user became extremely exposed. That's why, even though it was a lethal skill, it kind of, wasn't actually that good. And that was the perfect chance for our boy, jumping from the wall to the hammer, and reaching the monster's back. Bro, in full swag, he even stepped on the ceiling and launched himself to the ground, landing a whip-like strike straight to the middle of the monster's head. And of course, that was the strategy he had created to beat this creature even at a low level. That's because at the moment he landed the strike on the head, the black flame got trapped inside the monster's mouth, and it started falling apart. Endu backs off, saying, "See you in the next life." And with that, the monster burns from the inside out. Shortly after, the boss is there, Charred Man, and the system announces that the unique creature has been defeated. The dumb couple there is emotional that they were actually saved. And the most impressive thing is that the boy killed the boss without a single scratch. A message appears saying he's the first player in the world to kill a unique creature. With that, he receives the title of First Slayer. Endu thinks that's weird. He didn't see this happen in the original game. But once he checks, obviously it's OP. This title increases his damage against bosses by 50%. And since he was the first to equip a title, he gets another one that allows him to have a sub-occupation, which I think must be like a secondary class or something. The system asks if he wants to accept the sub-occupation now, and he instantly says yes. But once he chooses the class, it can't be changed anymore. He hesitates for a second and goes to the soulsmith wall. What is that, like a soul blacksmith or something like that? Looks like that's it. Even the UI is glowing, saying that class is perfect for making money. Now it was time to check the items that dropped. The girl behind him says she's heard that the reward from this boss is the key to access the sewers. A perfect place for low-level players and stuff, where people say it's easy to level up and get a lot of loot. The dude next to her says he's heard of that too. It's a super good place, right? Everyone wants to get in. Endu touches the key lightly and says they're right, but it's not actually that rare. The drop rate is 100%. But the two friends are realizing that he doesn't really care about that item, and they already sense that their perspectives are very different. That's when Endu shows the goat dagger and says this one could actually be considered a lucky item. He approaches a fallen rock, places the dagger on top, and it slides like butter, bro. It's like that old hot knife challenge the YouTubers used to do. Remember that? Man, that was an old trend, huh? My god. Then our boy checks the system and says this still isn't enough. He just hopes the next materials are easier to get. Sub-occupations, as the name implies, are occupations that aren't your main one. Some are useless, while others have extraordinary abilities. And of course, that soulsmith choice is one of the top-tier ones, right, buddy? That's because everything in this world had a soul fragment. Plants, minerals, humans, monsters, all of them had something like that. And by obtaining those materials, you could strengthen anything. During all the time he played, this was the only occupation that had a chance to beat the game. Then he activates the Soul Eye skill on his weapon. The system says the item can be awakened with the Soulsmith skill, and for that, you need the soul fragment of a mage. Man, our boy is looking at the girl already thinking maybe that's her class. And the system really shows that it was possible to extract an F-rank fragment from her. But there was a condition. If she entered a contract with him, there would be no side effects during the extraction. Looks like that's his condition. And he stabs the ground and asks if they really want that little key to level up. Obviously, the poor things are all excited, and our boy says that, however, they'd have to sign that contract, and he would keep any item they dropped. But since he was being nice, he'd give them a discount on the fees, and they'd be able to level up a lot. The suckers are all happy and thanking him, saying he's an angel on earth. But Endu just says there's no need to thank him. Obviously, since he formed a contract with her, he can now obtain the fragment. A little jar with a hat appears, and with that, the Soulsmith is activated. The dagger begins to awaken a glow in the skies, and suddenly it becomes enveloped in a purple aura. Obviously, that increased the damage it caused and also gave it the Soul Slash ability. Man, I thought Soul Slash was like when a monster is a ghost, you can kind of hit it. But no. He throws his arm up, does a little slash forward, and out of nowhere a forest appears. The whole place is lit up. It's because he opened a rift. The fallen guy even asks how it's possible for a human to have that much power. On the other hand, Endu seems disappointed, saying this is the best he can do for now. At least he already has the bare minimum for the next step. As soon as he turns to the girl, the poor thing is already bracing herself, but he just walks past her and leaves. Look at this crazy guy going to pray for the players, man. You helped kill everyone in there, you bastard. Oh, it makes sense now. He prayed and took the guy's money. What a scumbag. With that, the two friends are sure. This kid is more dangerous than that goat that killed everyone. Next scene, he's walking through a courtyard. getting close to a well. Obviously, the bastard knows that's a secret dungeon good for low-level farming. Normally, though, people go in with a group of 3, 4, or 5 people. But since he's got the dagger in hand, it's better to go solo and level up faster. The moment he starts going down the stairs, out of nowhere a coin comes flying and he slices it in half. Bro, it's the Matrix. Well, the 3 guys show up in front of him, wanting to know why another visitor showed up, saying that unfortunately, they'll have to go back up because that's their area. Endu is the king of farming. Bro, he doesn't stop for a second. He says there's no way he's going back and asks who decided that this place belonged to them. The guy up front replies that in games the rule is simple. Whoever gets there first gets the spot. Endu tries to play nice and says he'll pass them a spot that's better for a group of 3 to farm. But the guys respond that they're not interested. They like that place a lot. Of course, if he had money, they'd let him farm there for a while. Endu immediately understands how this works and asks how much they want. The leader of the guys says 50,000 for an hour seems fair. There are plenty of creatures there and he'll profit way more than that. Endu says fine, hands over the 50k, saying he found some money lying around recently. But he's already sure he's going to farm, get strong, kill those guys, and get that money back. No way this capitalist's leaving his cash in the hands of those bastards. Right after, he's already entering the wolf cave and getting surrounded from all sides. These weren't just any wolves, they were diamond wolves, a mid-tier creature perfect for making money. And this cave is the only place where they appear in groups. He could use Soul Slash and finish this quickly. The problem is if he gets attacked while that's on cooldown. That's why he's going to handle this calmly for now. The wolves charge at him, but he's easily chopping off heads, limbs. Damn bro, the boy's violent. Shortly after, the poor wolves are all ready for the barbecue already. But here he comes again with that little tea box. It can't be, there's gotta be some secret to that. But right when they sit down to rest, one of the guys comes in to punch him from behind. Luckily, he manages to turn around, deflect the attack, and pull out the dagger. Almost slashes the guy's neck, but the dude dodges too. Since the slash made an explosion in the ceiling, I think he used Soul Slash. And the buff guy says that one was dangerous. Ender realizes the game barely started, but that weirdo's already well used to fighting. And he says that expecting him to drop his guard after killing the creature just because he'd be tired really showed the guy was trash. The type who only attacks people off guard. Yeah, the crazy guy straight up admits it, says he loves attacking the unsuspecting. And with that, Endu already figured it out. It was their plan from the start, obviously. They hang out at the best hunting grounds waiting for people to show up so they can rob them. Then the leader shows up saying that he finally figured it out. I thought this leader was gonna be a fool who'd take the 50k and let our boy farm only to be killed later, but nope, the bastard came to collect. Endu says now it makes sense why they were the only ones there. But they were dumb too, because he was prepared for it, since there weren't any other groups farming besides them. The problem now is our boy noticed the weapons those guys had. One of them's using brass knuckles with an acceleration ability. Dangerous. The other's got a vibration sword that can easily cut through any material. Anyone who came in without knowing them would get wrecked instantly. And on top of that, the leader's wearing that ring. Endo's sure it's gonna make things worse. That's when the captain says he'll apologize and give him a consolation prize. Right away, he throws a bunch of coins in Endo's direction, clearly some kind of skill or trap. But the capitalist soul in our boy already wants to grab all the coins for himself. Damn little greedy bastard. The idiot leader tells him he can take the coins and leave if he wants. But of course our guy might be dumb and greedy, but not that dumb. He already knows that's the coin explosion ring. Guess what it does, right? I won't even explain, folks. So Endo starts juggling daggers like a kid doing tricks at a traffic light, saying that unfortunately, they picked a target with a higher rank. The 3 guys start walking toward him saying he talks a lot for someone about to die. Our boy throws one last taunt, saying that even all 3 of them together weren't worth a single coin. The leader loses it, snaps his fingers, and triggers the coin explosion. Right then, the guy with the fists and the little sword start closing in. The first guy goes for a punch, but Endu dodges backward. And in the same instant, the guy with the vibration sword comes from behind. Endu protects his masculinity by blocking that vibration from behind, and fires a dagger strike to knock the punch guy to the side. He says those bastards are gonna pay with interest for what they're doing. To which the leader replies that he's got the perfect coin to make that payment. Another finger snap, and a pile of coins are thrown at Endo, who has to run to dodge. But here comes the damn vibration dude again, and once more, Endo has to stop and block. What the guy didn't expect is that his vibrating sword couldn't handle the hardness of our boy's dagger. Life lesson right there, man. Bigger sword doesn't always win, see. It's all about knowing how to use it. He nearly slices Tukanha's neck, and now the leader is watching from a distance saying things are getting tricky, but it was still under control. The problem is there's a kid they're clearly using an epic weapon, which wasn't supposed to happen this early. And just like a good millionaire, he throws money to solve the problem. But Endo wasn't gonna be that easy and once again dodges. The real problem is right then the guy with the brass knuckles activates that acceleration ability Endo was worried about. Man, that explosion was so big even the poor vibration guy got tossed like an idiot. And the dagger was up in the air spinning. The dude's already celebrating, bro, he's pretty worn out but saying the bastard's dead. While the vibration guy's there mad saying now he's gonna have to get another sword. The leader crouches down, picks up the dagger from the ground and says it's irrelevant. Doesn't matter how good the weapon is if the person using it is trash. That's when Endu activates the soul restraint skill. Some chains start appearing and lift 2 of the group members. From within the smoke, Endu says the pain of having your soul bound by chains is way worse than you'd imagine. Now the leader tries to use the dagger himself, bro. But obviously someone who just keeps snapping fingers knows nothing about fighting. Our minion just grabs the guy's arm and says he's way too slow. But the bastard had a bunch of coins hidden in his shirt and says now they'll explode together. But Endu activates the chain again and locks all the coins with the idiot. Ah, I thought he was gonna blow himself up inside his own shirt and get his torso disintegrated. But that soul restraint skill also seals the guy's ability, so yeah, he couldn't do anything. And Endu reveals that this skill only activates because there's a big level gap between them. Obviously, Cookie is shocked. How is that possible, right? He's already level 7 and the game just started. Endu praises him, saying that for a beginner, he's not bad at all. But what our boy wants now is to make a few more contracts, apparently to extract more of those soul fragments. To get Adrian's soul, the buff guy, he needed to satisfy the guy's hunger. For Ayan, the vibration sword guy, he'd have to help him find his little sister. And to get the soul fragment from the leader, Cookie, he'd need to put him into a deep state of fear. Out of the three, Cookie's condition was the only one he could fulfill right now. And Cookie is begging to be released, saying the chains are choking him and he's going to die. Endu touches the tip of the blade and says it'd be a shame if he died now. The guy is shaking, asking what he means by that. Because our boy says he's going to need to remove his eye, his blood, and all his internal organs. In this new world of hunters and prey, it's easier to do transplants, and people are gonna need stuff like that. Time to get some nice interest on those 50 he handed over. Ayan tells the leader to be careful, that kid isn't right in the head and might really do it. But Endu's just thinking that there's no way he'd go through all this effort just for that. As soon as Endu says that the moment Cookie passes out, he's going to extract everything, the guy starts apologizing and crying, begging him not to do it. That's when he felt deep fear, and with that, the extraction is complete. He receives another F-rank mage soul fragment. The poor guys all fall back on the floor and start getting up, gasping for air. And then 3 papers and 3 pens appear. Not even businessmen walk around with that many contracts. And of course, as soon as the guys read them, they're all terrified. What the heck is this deal about giving up 90% of what they earn in complete obedience? But then a man, damn it, asks if they're going to complain, and they say no, never. They're not complaining about anything. This contract is perfect, man. Since the contracts were about to be signed, the guys congratulate each other for becoming part of this amazing organization. But it was good for the 3 of them to know that if they broke any of the clauses, they'd end up in the hospital. Then Endu says he wants to find out who was coordinating them. Cookie was about to ask how you could possibly know that, but Endu says it's obvious. No way they'd have equipment that good if they were just a bunch of weak players. But strangely, the guys start begging, saying they'll do anything except that. If the boss found out they were working for someone else, they'd definitely be killed. But Endu stomps on his face and asks if he forgot who the new boss is now. The poor guy Ayan, who's right there beside him, starts trembling and runs away. Says he doesn't want to do this. But our boy tells him he has no chance, and once again, he gets chained up. The 2 friends have already realized, man, there's no way to escape from that place. The level difference between them and the boy seemed to be even bigger than they imagined. Our folks are thinking now that the laws of the old world don't apply to him. And in that moment, he's sure that there's no one who can stop him. Yeah, man, the kid's already level 36 and the game just started. If these other guys are doing okay, in theory they're like level 7, right? The gap is way bigger than expected. Now it makes sense. He should wipe these guys out even easier, but it's fine, he only used 1 skill, so it wasn't that hard. Next scene, some kind of amusement park. There's a circus going on, some fire stuff, and a guy on stage getting hit with a boar and slammed into the ground. Man, the game just started and there are already people being enslaved in cages, bro. Man, that's messed up. These Homo sapiens sapiens aren't so sapiens after all. What now? Bullcut is slapping the guy, yelling that the bastard didn't even complete such a simple mission. He should understand that he's getting in the way of the boss's life like this. Another guy behind the bars tells him to stop. That guy was about to die. But the civil dude says he should just die already and stop bothering the boss. Suddenly someone walks in asking what they're saying about him. Oh boy, look at this clown's makeup. The game started today and you already think you're the Joker, my guy? Come back to reality. And the clown dude walks up to the guy who was getting beaten, saying that he really suffered a lot and didn't deserve this. He tells Bullcut that he needs to understand. The guild is already losing its strength. Doesn't matter how incompetent, filthy, or trashy someone is, you can't just go beating people like that. Bullcut loses his excuse, starts trembling. Then the guy tries to thank the boss, but yeah man, obviously that was just a little act. The whip comes swinging and this time it hits straight in the skull. Walmart Joker keeps saying that's how you treat incompetent animal, and warns that any other animal in this organization will suffer the same fate when they don't do their job. But man, someone else arrives at the circus and the clown's expression changes, says that they arrived way too fast. Of course, it's the 3 beat-up guys saying they came to report some information. They got beaten, and it was getting kinda hard to keep protecting that place. But the clown already noticed Koki doesn't have the ring on his hand, and asks, where's the ring I gave you? The twisted-up guy is trying to explain, saying they got beat up, and that what showed up there wasn't even a player. It was a monster. But of course, smack, whip to the face. Walmart Joker starts yelling, asking if they haven't understood the world they're living in now. It's ridiculous that he actually managed to gather so much trash into the same guild. Adrian and Ayan are just standing there thinking, bro, and the rest of the guild gave up, right? Because man, they got beat up so bad they bailed. Now I'm confused. I keep saying this is still the first day, but what day are we even on in this server? It's not the first anymore, right? Or was there some kind of time skip like 3 days later or something? I don't remember. Because as far as I know, the game started in the morning, the protagonist ran off, dropped into the dungeon, and now we're here. Or am I losing it? Because the guild guys are saying everyone quit the guild after getting beat up, right? I guess things move fast around here. The clown's yelling, saying he's got another job for Bowl Cut now. He's supposed to bring some guy named Johnny Kun. Suddenly, a paw swipe from a white tiger, which honestly looked more like a monster bro, blows hot breath right in Cookie's face, who's trembling, saying he won't survive if that thing gets loose. But the clown replies that it's time for Tiger's dinner. Oh man, the beast comes in to bite the bun, but Solo Performance Boy just showed up. Here there's no animal rights, bro. He goes straight for a kick to the tiger's head, launching it away and twisting its neck. Walmart Joker is calling out for someone named Johnny Kong, but the one who answers is our dear Endu. Says he doesn't let anyone kill someone who signed a contract with him, because they're a valuable source of money. The Joker, though, walks over to the tiger with the saddest expression I've ever seen on an animal. Meanwhile, the 3 dummies are asking Endu why he took so long, right as he's about to answer that he was looking for money in this place. Whip crack, a strike comes from behind. But bro, our boy, without even looking back, I don't know what he did, but the whole whip got sliced clean. If I, the spectator, didn't understand what just happened, imagine poor Joker. The dude is shaking. And Endu says he'll have to repeat himself. He contracted those 3, so the clown is making a mistake. That's right, Lil Bowl Cut. Ask them if they don't have any honor in their hearts. The boss had accepted them out of gratitude, but now they were betraying everyone. Obviously, the guys answer, like, why would they feel grateful to a crazy boss like that? No one wanted to work for Walmart Joker anymore. Endu adds that the message should be clear by now. Then he turns to the people in the cages and says whoever agrees to sign a contract with him will receive protection. The poor folks in there ask if at least they'll be freed from that hell. And yeah, Endu promises they will, though the bastard will surely have them sign another 90% contract. I'll wait. Turns out he was humble, offered 50% this time. He really is becoming a more honest man, which obviously makes the ones who signed the 90% deal furious, asking why those guys get to pay less. But the one who's really pissed is the Joker, who asks what's going on, trying to steal the rest of his underlings. Says now he's going to kill everyone and send them straight to hell. That's when he pulls out a guild master card, showing his authority over everyone there. His name is Andre, but no way I'm gonna start using this loser's name. Endo, however, doesn't look surprised by the card, and the clown says it was the Japanese government that gave him that item. After the devastation in Moscow, they've been trying to organize everything quickly so some guild masters can form groups to enter dungeons, and he, having that golden card, is above all. Not even the police can interfere with his plans. Endu says the government was fast to start handing those out while he was still in the dungeon, but all he had to do was get one of those too and everything would be sorted. To that, the clown says it's not that easy. To become a guild master, you at least have to be a certified rank B player. But it was irrelevant because the clown says Endo's going to die now anyway. The guy starts shooting, bro. What kind of rank B? Is this using a gun? The bullets fly toward Endo, but of course, that's not going to do anything. He summons the F-rank mage spirit and activates his soul barrier in front of him. It's a level 25 skill that requires a mage's soul fragment to activate. Joker, though, is just like someone in Valorant when Sage puts up a wall. He's sitting there, wasting bullets trying to break it, while giving his tired speech about Moscow collapsing, and that he's the government's chosen one, blah blah. But obviously, Endu couldn't care less. He asks if the guy hasn't realized that nobody who goes into dungeons uses guns. How's he supposed to be rank B like that? Probably tricked the government or just bluffed his way through, because there's no way. Obviously, Endu just says he's gonna fix this, and pushes the barrier forward right into the clown's face. The clown tries to hold his ground, but Endu is calmly walking forward, pinning him against the wall. And when he's finally crushed and can't do anything, the protagonist deactivates the skill. He says that ever since everything started, abilities are something way beyond weapons. It'd be good if that guy stopped walking around thinking he'd solve things with that kind of toy. The guys in the cage are terrified, bro, saying it's unbelievable something like this happened. Then Endu turns to them and says he's going to give them one more chance to sign a contract, only paying 50%. Obviously now everyone's eager. It's clear the kid can win, right man? 50% is better than nothing, especially since they've been freeloading and doing nothing. The crooked Joker warns that the authorities won't let someone like Endao, who has no license, just do whatever he wants. But Endu only asks, wasn't it he who said that power is everything now? A second after the Joker goes silent, everyone has to stand face to face with him. The poor guy gets crushed while our boy thinks he's got plenty of people now working for him. Nothing better than long-term investments that will pay off forever. He checks the system and says it would be perfect if he finishes the test while everyone else is panicking. The system shows that everything will be annihilated in 29 days and 23 hours. Bro, you already have a building that's the player association. You know that story that when a bridge collapses in Japan, they rebuild it in 2 days? I think it's true, man. 2 days into the game and they've already got a player association. These people are fast for real. Our protagonist is walking nearby while a group of friends is talking, saying that if you're a rank B player, the salary in any guild is crazy high. Another guy says he better stop dreaming. Rank B is only for the top 1% of the country. At that moment, there are only 9 in the whole country. Endu walks away without saying a word. Now guessed, 2 weeks have passed since Prophecy Online became reality. So yeah, I guess the Japanese fuse really did move fast, because now we've got a clear timeline. The government offered a huge reward for anyone who could finish the test at 29-day 1. Of course, many people tried their luck, but the results were disastrous. Shortly after, it became mandatory for any player to register with the Player Association. Anyone not part of it wouldn't be allowed to take the test and wouldn't get any government rewards for it. Walking through the street, Endu thinks there's a lot of money involved in this, and obviously he wants everyone's money. But someone was watching him, and he quickly noticed. Something was approaching fast, and he dodged sideways as the thing smashed the ground. Everyone's confused, wondering why a metal plate dented the pavement. Suddenly someone yells that today he won't lose. Oh man, it's that loan shark from before. This one doesn't give up on money. He's one of mine. Our boy sees that it's Takuyo, the Damina Gyota, and says that anyone who died to a novice punch shouldn't even try to become a hunter, or he'll die like an idiot. But the guy is confident now, obviously saying he's no longer the same. Now he's received the most powerful class of all, the Lancer. Endu replies that it's hilarious how someone so dumb picked such a hard class. He really won't be able to do anything with it. Takuyo asks what he means and wants to know what class the brat has. Endu says he has a very incredible class known as Beginner. Obviously, the guy laughs, saying that's the same as having no class at all. Endu just smiles, thinking that he didn't lie. His class really is Beginner. Takuyo grabs the plate and says enough, time to get his money back or the kid dies. He tries to do a sequence and smash him with the plate, but Endu just sidesteps back and forth, dodging it with ease. He says he didn't want to cause a disaster right before the exam, but it looks like he has no choice. Man, he just gives him a little tap, and the guy goes flying. The poor dude hits the ground, shaking all over, while still muttering that it's not even worth it. Already inside the building, the girl says that the exam fee will cost $8,000. Sometime later, he's there crying over the money he lost, and the woman approaches, saying it's time for him to take the test. And there he is, bro, face to face with the big crystal. And if I had to bet $1 billion, I'd say he's gonna get rank E or F or something even lower. He asks if it's just putting his hand there. She says yes. And there he goes, all hesitant. A little spark pops from his fingers. He places his hand, a golden light shines, the girl's all impressed, the energy flows, everything turns white, and she's stunned. Next scene, she slams the table, saying the results came in. Oh man, I would have lost that bet. The bastard actually came out as rank A, bro. She then says he must already know, but players can indeed change classes. There were some insane ones like Swordmaster, Magic Master, that one's really strong, and Archbishop. And obviously, with so much talent, he should choose one of those. But he answers that even though he really wanted another class, the one he wants isn't available. She asks which one it is, and the kid's just cruel, says it's none of her business. Damn boy, why the aggression? She felt the pressure and asks if maybe he needs those special items for class change, and if he wants the association to prepare them. But he only says he'll collect them himself and she shouldn't worry. Then he asks if she has anything else to say, and the poor girl is trembling, asking if in the future these things won't cause him trouble. She's kinda confused and asks what he means. She tries to explain that his rank of power is something they've never seen before. Oh man, and of course, just because I said it. He has rank of power, but since he has no class, he's automatically classified internationally as rank E. Too soon to celebrate, right? I was all shocked like, damn, first time I've seen a protagonist start this strong at rank E. What a cursed cliche that never fails to show up. She tries to explain that there will be lots of restrictions. He won't be able to create a guild. That's a big disadvantage. He turns his face, thinking these damn governments really love coming up with stupid rules. But if the issue is creating a guild, he could just assign one of his money farms as the guild master. That's because there's a certain main class that's the only one with the potential to beat the game, or at least the only one he ever managed to win with. And that's why he won't pick any other class until he gets that one. Then he asks if even ranky players don't get the 100 million yen bonus for finishing the test. She says she was about to explain something. What he says there's no problem at all, so it's perfect. She says she understands and will certify him as rank A of E. Double trap, right folks? Thought it was one thing, got tricked again. Damn it, face planted hard. Outside, everyone's holding up signs trying to recruit players above rank C. He's laughing, saying everyone struggles to get new recruits. Until two girls approach our boy asking if he's rank D and wants to join them. But he replies that actually he's rank E. And they apologize, saying that unfortunately, that's a bit below what they were looking for. Walking around, he realizes that everyone who's rank E is like hot potato. They get tossed away right away. Until he notices a guy way in the back, not the usual type, just staring at him with a suitcase in hand. The kind of guy you're supposed to run away from, but there he is, face to face. The guy says, nice to meet you, and asks if he's Endu Ri. Then he hands over an info card saying to take a look. Wings of Genesis, though it doesn't show the rest of the name. People. Actually, Endu gave it to us. Thanks, Endu. We're in this together. Strangely, everyone around is impressed by the guy standing there. A member of one of the strongest guilds known as Feeder. Shinji is all awkward, explaining that that was his old nickname. Obviously, Endu's mind goes straight to the only thing that matters. He's already wondering how he can make money by getting close to this guy. So he wants to know what this guy wants with him, who of course immediately invites him. But look who's coming back, bro. Takuyo, asking if someone's looking for him. He's talking to the guy there, saying that hiring a rank B like him isn't going to be that easy. Endu is shocked that Takuyo got ranked as B. He probably threatened the examiner or something, no way. Feeling awkward, Shinji apologizes and says he has no idea who Takuya is. Man, out of nowhere, Takuya grabs him by the collar, asking if he doesn't know how strong he is. But Shinji immediately locks him in a hold, warning that the more time they waste with stupid talk, the closer they get to destruction hour. And that's it. The clown's walking off, saying they'll come after him later, but he's not accepting any recruitment. Already at a little cafe, Endu once again asks what they want with a rank E like him. But Shinji isn't dumb. He says he knows Endu is rank E only because he refused the class change. Right away, Endu says it seems like someone's been leaking his personal info. Man, no way. Once again, this world moves way too fast. He got rank E, walked out, and this guy's already waiting for him with that info. No way, they must have called his phone bro. Yeah, makes sense. Forgot that phones exist. Then Shinji tells the boy that the world is in danger, and the association can't afford to lose strong players. That's why, if the boy agrees to join Wings of Genesis, they'll pay him the same amount they had to pay to get that information about him. Obviously, the greedy one can't resist when he hears that the offer is 10 million. He already imagines himself just a while ago, on his knees begging for money. But the game's changed, and he says that, unfortunately, he's not interested in joining any guild. Shinji, a bit embarrassed, says he didn't expect someone like him not to be swayed by money. That's why he wants to offer some information instead. The truth is, his guild has support from all government agencies. Basically, it's not a lie to say they control the world's information hub. And if he joined, obviously he'd also get access to that privileged info network. Endu decides to take advantage of the situation and asks if they have any info about the only person who completed this game. Shinji says, however, that nobody has ever done that. No one completed the game while it was active. Strangely, Endo's expression changes, and he says that if that's the case, then he refuses. Shinji's kind of surprised, but hands over a number, saying that in any case, just call him. He leaves, but he's wondering why the boy got so mad over something like that. For now, he decided to back off, so he doesn't damage the guild's image or ruin the relationship they're trying to build, because clearly, there isn't one yet. He was imagining our boy sipping coffee, kind of implying how hard it is to convince him of anything, when suddenly Endu places a hand on his shoulder. The guy turns around startled, and Endu hands him a paper. Says that if he ever needs help, just call. Of course, whether he accepts or not depends on the price. A little awkward, Shinji says okay. And just like that, our boy walks away. Then the scene shifts to the Wings of Genesis Guild headquarters. Top floor, the guild master's office. Shinji arrives saying he's just returned. Whoa, hold up guys. Is it finally time for a badass woman to show up? And she wants to know how it went. Did they manage to recruit the strongest beginner the association mentioned? Shinji simply answers that that bastard is really a monster. The first player who made him feel fear just from a conversation. The guild master wants to know who's stronger between the two of them. Shinji gets a bit awkward trying to answer, and she says that just from his hesitation, she already knows. He apologizes to Miss Tsukino, and she says it's no problem. Passing on all the information he received without hiding anything, that was his job. And to her, it wasn't surprising that someone stronger than her would eventually appear. This is our dear Yamagata Tsukino, the guild master, all casual, like a businesswoman. Then the story shows the 10 Transcendents, the top 10 players from the beta test phase who ended up receiving prize money. Obviously, the moment the game became real, everyone wanted to know who they were and people started trying to get involved with them. The knowledge these people had was priceless. Tsukino says that the fact Shinji came back alone already shows he failed to recruit the boy. Shinji tries to explain that, strangely, not even 10 million interested him, nor did the info. She says that if he's one of the 10 Transcendents, then money and fame are already guaranteed. He agrees but says it wouldn't make sense for one of them to stay as a beginner on purpose. Besides, he could be using one of those forbidden items to boost his stats during evaluation or something like that. Tsukino, however, says if that were the case, Shinji wouldn't have gotten so scared. She trusts his eye and is certain that if he's putting that much faith in this boy, there's a chance he's one of the strongest in the world. Finally, they needed to remember that there was only one person among the 10 whose identity was completely unknown. Shinji confirms that's the player who ranked first. Apparently, the US used AI and intelligence tools to find out who the other 9 were. But all information about the top one was completely hidden. She explains there were rumors that actually the US does know who the top one is, but they're keeping it secret. Shinji says he believed that rumor, but now he's unsure after seeing that kid. He could really see the possibility that Endu is the one they've been missing. She slams the table and says that if that's the case, and he believes it, then there's a real chance it's true. Everyone in the guild was to get informed. From now on, no one is allowed to oppose Endu. They must be extremely careful how they deal with a player who was potentially ranked top 1. Carlson replies that he understands. A few weeks later, our boy Endao had rented a multi-million-dollar building to use as his guild HQ. Basically, this was where his team would start raking in money. Man, I really want to know what he was doing during those weeks. He better have been farming dungeons, bro. This damn bastard. I'm mad. Does he only care about money? People are setting up TVs asking if they're positioned right. He says yes. Then Cookie brings over a briefcase full of cash, saying it's the tribute from everyone. Our boy grabs a stack and says that the effort is really paying off. His buddy says that for sure, everything's going according to plan. Everyone was leveling comfortably in the sewers, making almost 1 million per day. Even the new slaves, recruits, were earning over 100k. He honestly didn't expect that teaming up with our boy would be so profitable. Endu says he never lies when it comes to money. He promised that everyone would profit, and that's no joke. The fee they pay him is just the price for his information. Kaki says it makes sense, though in his head he's thinking 90% is still insanely high. But unfortunately, there's nothing he can do. It's really the most profitable way for him too. He then asks when they're going to try the Earth test, which only had 10 days left. Not to mention, the reward had been increased to 400 million. Endu says he'll wait a little longer. At that moment, someone turns on the TV, and there's a news report about the mission. As always though, everyone's hope was low. That's when the other reporter delivers the news that the government had raised the reward to 1 billion yen. Looks like they finally stopped caring about appearances and were ready to pay whatever it took to whoever could beat this thing. At that moment, Endo's thinking that if he stalls much longer, there's a risk that other guilds from outside will want to get involved in their mess. He's already grabbing an outfit, saying it's time to go to work, man. Cookie asks if he's really going alone, and Endo replies, of course he is. As if he'd risk the lives of his money factories. Strangely enough, the poor guys are actually touched. And Endo says, yeah. He also obviously doesn't want to split 1 billion yen with anyone. Now the suckers finally realize why they're staying behind. At the dungeon scene, there's a bunch of reporters and players gathered in front of the gate. When the protagonist shows up, Shinji immediately recognizes him. Our boy walks straight past, saying he wants to make it clear. He has no intention of cooperating with anyone. Shinji says that's a shame. He was about to offer him a way to make money. Instantly, Endu turns around asking what he has in mind. The guy walks over to a stack of military backpacks and says he needs them delivered to members deeper inside. So Endu asks what's inside. Shinji says it's supplies and Endu takes a look. Inside one of them, he finds a chocolate bar. The guy explains that it's their master's favorite food. These backpacks had to be delivered to the deepest part of the Earth test, to a camp set up at the entrance to the 5th layer. It was taking too long to secure that area, and they were starting to run out of food. The guy offers 100,000 yen, and Endu finds that suspicious. An offer that good would have already been accepted by tons of people, so why? Shinji goes straight to the point. The Wings of Genesis wanted to show they were generous people to Endu. Plus, they were really in a bad spot. They had already asked 39 other groups to take the supplies, but most gave up or got annihilated. Endo, however, says out loud that the first 4 layers are basically just a warm-up. The real deal starts at the 5th layer, and the boss. Shinji notices this kid knows things they don't. He then admits it really does seem like the dungeon is exactly like it was in the game. But it's true, very few groups had made it to the 5th layer, and the ones that did, they're over there, worn out, waiting for supplies. Then Shinji says if he delivers it within a day, he'll get an extra 50 million. Immediately, Endo turns around and says that stuff will get there in an hour. The scene switches to the 3rd layer, where Manny is fighting a giant praying mantis. Bro, that thing's scary enough when it's tiny. The poor guy is blocking attacks and shouting at Rami to run or she'll die. Seems like they're a couple. She calls him my love, saying she can't abandon him. But he just thanks her for everything and says she should go. She screams out Michael, saying he can't die there, when suddenly someone runs past without stopping, just yelling at the weirdo to get out of the way because he's in a rush. The couple tries to thank him, but when they look again, the guy's already way up ahead. Shortly after, he's already at the entrance to the 5th layer. Only 42 minutes had passed so far, and considering he was earning 150 million, being a delivery man wasn't so bad. I'm telling you, he's the king of intel. There's already a blonde dude asking if he's in Deo, the one they were told about. Probably once again thanks to that amazing tool called the phone. Our boy throws the giant backpack, saying they must be from Wings of Genesis. He was there to finish his delivery job and obviously get his 150 million. The guy says not to worry, they got confirmation the money was transferred the moment he started running. And when Endu checks his phone, bam, there it is. The payment came in immediately. He thanks them for doing business and says it was a great job. The dude says everyone was celebrating. They were starving that place. Resources begin to be distributed, but with all the joy of the food. Endu says the situation doesn't look good. The guy explains that yeah, they'd lost a ton of people already. Suddenly a bunch of people come running, shoving each other, collapsing on the floor, saying they were finally safe. But then, impact hits the cave, and out of the smoke, a swarm of insects appears. Endu gets ready to attack, but a wave of flames passes through. Oh man, she's even scarier as a hunter. And our boy recognizes it. That's a very high-ranking class. It's a secret skill known as Hellfire Slash. He never imagined he'd meet someone who knew that kind of technique in a place like this. And the badass herself walks up, saying hi to Endu Ri. She approaches, thanking him for the delivery, and smiles as she introduces herself as the famous Yamagata Tsukino, Guild Master of Wings of Genesis. Our boy was giving that intense stare, and she was returning with a crimson-red gaze, until suddenly, she trips like an idiot, right? Damn, there's no way she was gonna be the baddest of the bad. Obviously, she's totally clumsy. That's the only way the suckers fall in love with you. She apologizes, saying it looks like she's stumbling from so much hunger. She hasn't eaten in days. And our boy knows she's not lying from the scuffle going on there, right? Just from the supplies he brought. Sometime later in the tent, he talks to her and asks if she's the strongest one there, and she says yes. Even though she was the weakest among the 10 Transcendentals, she was still strong. He asks what kind of embarrassing thing is that, 10 Transcendentals. Blushing awkwardly, she gets up and says she didn't choose that ridiculous name. That was the name given to the top 10 of the game, you know, when it was still a game. He asks who decided that. She says the names were selected by a group of researchers from the United States. The only person no one knows is the legendary number 1. They've already contacted everyone from the top 10 to give out various rewards, so it's strange they haven't gone to him. Obviously, the idea of rewards gets the boy excited, and he wants to know how much she got. She explains that it depends on where you live, but she got 1 million yen. Endo remembers that 1 million from when he started playing and reached top 1 back when it was still a game, which made him addicted, quit his job, and later get hunted by loan sharks. But then he starts realizing it doesn't make much sense that these people are so interested in knowing who's the strongest. Maybe it's better to hide it for now. Still, he asks if that was really all. It was a small amount compared to what you could earn by completing the dungeon. She says yes, that million is nothing compared to the info she managed to gather in the game, though in the end it's not helping her at all against the boss of this place. He then asks if not even someone in the top 10 of the ranking is able to complete this test. She explains that no matter how many skills she has, in the end she's still human. If she could face this with the top tier equipment like she had in the game, she'd have a chance. But in the current situation, it's a minimal chance. Even so, he slams the table and says he gets it. Either way, he already completed his mission. If she's got anything else to say, just say it. And he's already leaving, thinking that he has to kill this boss soon before someone else does and snatches that billion from him. But from her chair, she yells for him to wait. She asks if he's really not going to help anyone or kill the boss. The guild folks seem a bit hesitant, telling her not to say things like that. They were going to manage without that guy's help. The leader turns around and warns that all hostile actions toward Endu are forbidden, and they need to remember that. She understands they think he's weird and knows how they feel. But at that moment, they needed to remember the people they had already lost in this fight. She goes all in and tries cutting the monster's leg, but it does no damage. The team collapsed on the floor, says the front lines had already crumbled. She gives the order for everyone to retreat, but there are some crazies wanting to stay, saying they can't give up now after coming this far and losing people. To which she responds that it's exactly because of that they have to retreat before even more people are lost. The fool kept pushing, until he got grabbed by the boss through the stomach. Tsukino couldn't do anything but watch the guy get devoured. And now in the present, she says they need all the help they can get to finish this quickly. The group is a bit awkward. Nobody can say anything. While she's fired up at her speech, saying that if they completed the Earth test, they'd bring peace back to Japan. That was the only way to honor the comrades who had sacrificed themselves. Everyone was emotional, even Endo on his way out says she's giving that speech, but he doesn't want anyone getting in his way. Besides that, he was going to kill the boss by himself. I thought she was going to get pissed, but she's actually impressed by the kid's confidence. They want to understand if he really thought it was plausible for him to beat that thing alone. She has no idea how he's going to fight, but she's going to find out. Suddenly, she leaves the tent and asks if he would accept requests depending on the reward, and she says what she wants is to join the boss fight. The guy is already thinking that if there's a chance to profit, he can't miss it. He then turns to her and says that she probably doesn't want to fight because of the reward, right? A bit awkward, she says she knows they would just get in the way, but they wanted to join the fight to avenge the friends who died. He could keep the money as a kind of inconvenience fee. But Endu is unstoppable and says that besides the reward, they'll want 10 million from each person who enters the fight. Also, they would have to pay half up front, otherwise he doesn't even want to see their faces. The crew is there being humiliated and wanting to kill the kid. But Tsukino accepts, saying the negotiations are complete. Everyone's hesitant, but she just tells everyone to get ready, since they were heading out. While Endu celebrates, man, the crazier he gets, the more he's going to celebrate. Until suddenly, a strange sound echoes through the cave and everyone turns. Once again, an insect attack is coming, but this time the quantity seems much bigger. Tsukino already summons the power of the infernal flame and says that today, no one's getting out of here alive. The insects are already burning up, and our boy's even a bit impressed, saying she's not so bad after all. What the she already put the sword away, man, I didn't even see the slash. This girl's hardcore for real. And she tells our boy it's time for them to move on. He shows that he received the deposits, so of course, right bro? Now he could finally end this. He goes ahead carefree, while the rest of the team struggles to kill the worms. The bald guy's complaining to the leader, saying this guy wasn't doing anything. He thought the kid used some crazy abilities, but he was just walking straight, killing the insects. The leader obviously says that's even more impressive. You can see that most monsters were dying in one strike, and that proved how skilled he was. She's just watching our boy all love struck, saying he really doesn't make a single unnecessary move. With him around, maybe the boss was doable. There they were sometime later in the 5th layer in front of the boss door. It had been a while since Endo had seen this. The healer girl is helping the bald guy who's trembling just from standing at the door. Oh my dude, you better not go in there, But Tsukino already took a step forward and said it was time to go. Whoever wanted to avenge the death of their friends should follow her. Finally, they were going in with everything they had right from the start. With that, the group runs forward until they come face to face with the boss in the sky. That red spider, and right away, everyone starts activating their fire abilities, everyone jumping in, explosion happens, and they're all hyped. Cut to Endo, who tells them to focus because nothing happened. Tsukino barely reacted in time to dodge the stomp. Then they realized that everything they had done hadn't caused any damage, which was weird considering that in theory, insect-type bosses are weak to fire. Endo says they're right, he is weak to fire, but the fire they have is way too weak, obviously. Right then, the spider sends an attack at Tsukino. I thought it was the perfect moment for the Chad to save her, but she just dodged and pulled back. She tells the rest of the team to be careful, that the web is sticky. Now our boy comes in to save the randoms and pull them out of the attack. Obviously, can't afford to lose anyone here in a situation like this. The guy in the cap thanks him, but our boy just tells him to stop getting in the way. If he died there, he'd lose the chance to earn another 5 million from the payment. The guy's kind of in disbelief that he was only saved for the money. Seems like he had some kind of deal with her too, that every time he saved someone from death, he'd earn more money. So he started thinking about maybe stalling a bit just to keep saving people. The problem is that he has a chance to make a lot of money from this guild, and he doesn't want to mess up the relationship with them by missing an opportunity like this. Besides that, there's something really important here, man. On Tsukino's screen, it says he could receive a soul fragment from a rank D swordsman, but the condition was to give her the biggest surprise of her life. Well, man, whatever it is, it's gotta be intense. He then decides to make a move that grabs everyone's attention and jumps for the boss. Activates that awakened attack. The dagger cuts right through the first leg. The monster tries to strike back, raises a rock, slams the weapon to the ground, and everyone covers their eyes. Everything's covered in smoke and they call out for him, afraid he might have died. But obviously, man, he's way overleveled and is just there easily holding off the blow. Of course, he's having to use a soul strength fragment to pull it off. But considering how many soul fragments he has, it's not even that hard. Before people can figure out what's happening, he suddenly grabs the boss's legs, starts spinning it, and slams it into the wall on the other side. In a second, he's already face to face saying this is the monster's weak spot. A direct hit slicing through the belly, and the people in the background are already celebrating. That's when Endo tells them they never really had a chance. He wasn't done, not even close. The boss was only just getting started. Suddenly, a strange red gas comes out of the belly and rises to the sky. No one can see anything anymore, and the boss is wrapped in a red, lightning-like aura, a dark energy. Everyone realizes the creature not only regenerated, but got even bigger. Endo says now it entered its second form, which was way harder than the first. Obviously, the crowd's confused, right? If they didn't stand a chance with the first form, how would they beat the second? Endo, being a very humble guy, says they're right. They're weak and have absolutely no chance. Then he activates his soul cord, runs to the side, jumps over. His body wraps around, head enclosed. That's the soul incineration circle skill, which requires level 40 to use in a bunch of soul fragments. Tsukino already sees it's going to explode and tells everyone to run. With that, Endo activates a flame ability, comes down the creature from above, raises the dagger to finish it off. Meanwhile, the rest of the group using their fire abilities instantly feels the difference in power between them. Man, our boy is right there face to face with a massive blaze. Everyone else is tense, hoping this really is the end. That's when someone yells and tells them to look. A bunch of crystals had appeared in front of them. Out of all the dungeons they'd been to, they had never seen something this massive. But Endo just tells them to back off. Obviously, the fools think he wants it all for himself. But from the shape of the crystal, it's already clear. It was actually the boss in its final form. This was the true challenge of clearing the Earth test. At least he's sure that if he kills this bastard, he'll never go hungry again. Everyone is tense and Tsukino tells them to get ready and stay on guard. But the warning didn't help at all because a diamond whip came crashing through everyone. She managed to dodge but quickly noticed it was faster than before. One of the attacks from a distance was coming straight for her. Once again, I thought our Chad was going to come in for the save, but this girl's fully empowered. She dodges everything, evades, doesn't need any man to help her. Damn it, let him save you so you'll be impressed. But Endo warns that in this final form, the boss attacks mindlessly, so it's best for her and the group to flee from there. Even if he can stop anyone from dying, progress will only be slower. He manages to block an attack with the dagger, but man, it didn't do any damage. The boss is even giggling like it's mocking him. But it seems like the protagonist expected this. Once again, he jumps over, saying he has to open up a weak spot. That's when he activates the Soul Reserve. While the group is back there behind a rock, behind a barrier, wondering what he's doing, our boy is full on evil mode, looking the boss dead in the face as the monster's attack comes in. Man, he was waiting for this. But yeah, it hit, filled, pierced through the stomach, went through the shoulder, and everything. Obviously, after seeing that, the group is totally scared, knowing they have no chance at all. Tsukino doesn't think he's gonna die, but my god, the kid is stuck there like clothes on a clothesline. You better have a plan, man, cause you just got bit. But there he is, resisting, holding back the monster's attacks, and he finally caught it. Even the poor boss is shocked by the kid's craziness. Then Endo activates the Soul Barrage. It's that same slash from his first awakening, except now it's a whole combo. The blows keep slicing through the monster, which turns into a bunch of diamond shards. Explosion all over the place, and once it clears, there he is, standing in the middle of the falling crystals. He already knew it was gonna hurt like hell, but he didn't think he'd nearly die like that. That's when the system says he had 3.32 seconds of soul reserve left. If he didn't recover before the effect ended, his soul protection would vanish and he'd die. Right then, all the group's healers start throwing healing spells. Our minions surrounded, collapse, working on the system while everyone's taking care of him. He then gets up, thanking everyone for the help, saying that thanks to them, he didn't have to use up anything else. Putting his hand on his wounds and seeing the holes closed up, he thanks them for having skilled healers. Tsukino, however, asks if he, by any chance, intentionally took those attacks. Our boy replies that taking direct hits and not dying is a basic skill in online professions. The group is shocked, man. That only made sense when it was still just a game. But now it was real life and he should understand that if he dies here, he doesn't come back. He replies that it makes sense, but as far as he knows, if the game is just like reality, then the strategies that work there should still work here. That's when Tsukino realizes that while the boy is strong, he's clearly not all there in the head. Then Endu opens his inventory, saying he figured out a way to surprise her. The system announces that the Earth test had been completed successfully. He could now enter the names of those who participated in the subjugation. Seeing the message saying the dungeon would end in 5 minutes, everyone starts celebrating, saying that Endu really did it. Japan was finally saved and they were safe. Then Endu says he needs a little favor before getting the reward. He promised to keep everything, but he wanted Tsukino to receive the leader reward in his place and then transfer it. She gets a little confused and asks why. He explains that he wants her to get the credit for that dungeon and for her name to show up in the news, because it wouldn't look good if a beginner with no class was the one who cleared that place. On the other hand, if the story was that a guild struggled like crazy to beat this thing and lost tons of members, the government would definitely pay more. He's thinking about that, but he's also thinking he doesn't want his name all over the place. Tsukino asks if money is the only reason. As the guild leader, that would be nice, but taking credit from someone like that wasn't really their thing. Endu says there's no problem, just say that Wings of Genesis hired him for $1 billion and that's it. A little embarrassed, she agrees since they'd be announcing that Wings of Genesis cleared the test. With that, the group name that defeated the boss is recorded. Endu knows it's not like there's a guarantee the other guild members won't leak information, but only someone wanting to leave the guild would do that, because everyone in it would benefit a lot from being in the group that won. Japan's destruction is finally halted and the test is complete. Helicopters fly overhead and they tell everyone to take a look. The test area was collapsing and the players were evacuating. At the top of the cave, a magic circle appears and starts pulling everyone in. Everyone then falls outside, hugging each other and crying with emotion, saying they never imagined they'd really get out of there. Tsukino doesn't celebrate that it's finally over. And on the dungeon's tombstone it's recorded, Wings of Genesis had conquered the Earth test. Now the reporters arriving to give interviews want to know how it all happened. Right in front are the victors of the subjugation and Tsukino sees the crowd approaching. She turns to ask Endu if he's really okay with giving her the credit, but obviously Manning's already gone. The blonde guy says he only left a message. And of course it says, if you got any money-making ideas, just get in touch. With that, the entire team is surrounded by 1,000,000 reporters wanting information. The blonde tries to calm everyone down, but it's Tsukino, the leader, who speaks. And with that, she announces her guild as the ones who completed the test. It's broadcast not just in Japan, but around the world. Meanwhile, our boy's employees had gone to pick him up, right man? The guild folks, on the other hand, are stuck giving interviews, bowing and all that. The reporters think she's way too humble. She said it was all thanks to the help of many people. Seeing her little smile, Endu rides off in the car saying she'll handle it just fine. Of course, he could have made a lot of money too by taking the spotlight as the one who finished it all. But he's not in the mood to have the media watching his every move everywhere he goes. Maybe it's time for him to prepare another face to deal with the public, a kind of stand-in for himself. The news, photos, and interviews start popping up on every TV channel. In a conference room with a 350-inch TV, the mood doesn't seem too cheerful. Meanwhile, at the Money Farm Guild, because obviously only someone like that guy would give it that name, the bastard Endao, who just received his little billion. The friends are commenting that out of nowhere, the leader got stupid rich. One of them says it's best not to think about it too much, because that bastard won't share a single cent. Weirdly, they're gluing some 500 yen coins together, wondering what the heck they're doing lately. The other one tells him not to question it, man. It was an order from Endu Rie, and his orders are absolute. Then the protagonist turns and asks if Rumi's guild has already been established. That girl from the beginning that he saved shows up, a bit awkward, asking if he's sure she should be the guild master. Look at that admin card already in her hands, huh? Hashimiya Rumi, guild leader of Gold Farm. He explains that it's going to be like that because he's just a simple rank E and can own a guild. She says that even in the guild are people more qualified than her. But Endu says she's the perfect choice. Since the beginning, he's been feeding information and items to this group. Everyone's evolved to at least rank B. But obviously, like anywhere, there are people who perform better than others. Ruby is a perfect example of someone who wasn't born for dungeons. At least on the other hand, she gets along with everyone in the place. Why do these damn people like her so much, huh? As always, man, we're in a world where information spreads faster than anything, and there's already news online saying she became the guild master. Since most members are rank B, that draws a lot of attention. Kaki, however, wants to know why he wants to make a guild alone or if he's just going to solo every dungeon. He explains that it's not like he can enter just any dungeon. These so-called world tests will keep happening. Some affect countries, continents, or even other cities. And for most of them, you need government access or some sort of connection. That's why having a guild to help him matters. Right away, Rumi hands over a tablet with a list of tests happening right now with really good rewards. But Endo pulls out a piece of paper and says that actually, they're going to do this one first. She takes a look and sees it's something called the Mansion Test worth 5 million yen, which she finds strange since, well, there seem to be better options with nearly the same difficulty. The friends are already finding it weird, wondering if the greedy guy is suddenly aiming for maximum profit. But Rumi is sure that if he chose it, there must be something they're not seeing. He replies that of course there is. She better be careful not to mess up a single one of the orders written there. She, a bit awkward, says she understood and that he can trust her to read everything carefully. Sometime later in the car, she calls to say the mission was successfully accepted and the reward would be 5.4 million. He says it was a good job and tells her they'll arrive in 30 minutes. Our boy gets a message on another phone that's next to a tablet. Man doesn't even have a girlfriend. What's he hiding from to need that many smartphones? One of the guys from the guild says they're keeping an eye on the tests and it looks like some suspicious people entered. He asks how many, and the guy says 5. This Endu says he got it, and that he'll take care of the rest. It was time to start hiding his face, creating an enigmatic mask. The system tells him to select the materials and he picks a fragment of a rank D swordsman, but the success rate was 0.23%. That was the auto-generate rate, but the guy says he's doing it manually. The system explains that if he fails manually, he'll suffer mental damage. But even so, he accepts. With that, he's transferred to the soul world. He would have to harmonize the souls and the success rate would change depending on how he aligned them. Out of nowhere, the whole thing turns into a puzzle, kind of a labyrinth or something. But off he goes. He has 60 minutes to finish and starts moving pieces around, tossing some here, others there. 11 minutes, 7 minutes, 5 seconds. And when it hits 0, he finishes the cube. With that, the success rate is raised from 0.23% to 100% since he completed it manually. He returns to the material world and the mask is produced. Then he tells AN in the front seat to let him off there. He gets out of the car calmly and puts on the mask, which now gives him the full appearance of a completely different person. Shortly after, he enters the dungeon. There were already some defeated and burned creatures, and clearly, it was all recent. He has no doubt someone had passed through before him. He follows a path and strangely a door opens in the middle of a bookshelf with flying books. And from the looks of it, this opening is kind of hidden, which is a problem, because the other person also seems to know that. These types of tests are categorized and ranked by the risks they bring. There were continental level, country level, and city level. Obviously, the smaller the scale, the easier it was, but the reward also wasn't as good. On the other hand, there was an exception, the secret tests. These were tests generated within low-scale tests. Their difficulty, however, was much higher than a normal test, but obviously the rewards were much better too. Descending the staircase, he says whoever this person is, they must have a lot of intel. Suddenly, he stops for a second, when he comes face to face with a group of 5 hooded people. I thought the guys would look like villains, but that white-haired dude looks totally friendly. He asks if the one who arrived isn't from the Gold Formers Guild, saying they were expecting him. Endu finds that strange and asks, what's this Gold Formers Guild talk? The guy gets confused, saying he thought he was part of it. But whatever, he realized just from looking at the kid. Seems like he was about to start some small talk, but Endu cuts him off, saying he's not going to help anyone get through this. The white-haired guy responds that, unfortunately, that won't be necessary, because they've already finished this test. And probably if the kid came this far, he must also be after that evolution box. Man, and Endo's already reaching for a sword on his back, asking what they plan to do if he's after it. Out of nowhere, the guy throws the item at him, saying he can have it. It was like a chance to get a little closer. But in return, he wants the kid to do something for them. Endu asks what, and the guy says he wants him to prevent a certain test from being completed. Obviously, they didn't care how he would do it. And since he's someone with a lot of information, he shouldn't have much trouble eliminating the group trying to finish that place. Endu's a bit confused, trying to understand why they'd want to stop someone's test out of nowhere. But then he straight up asks if, by any chance, they're part of the Black Guild. And he says they're probably trying to do the same thing they did in Argentina. Endu explains that 2 weeks ago, one of Argentina's biggest cities, known as Mendoza, failed an extremely easy challenge and was destroyed. Coincidentally, a bunch of people had bets placed on the collapse of that country's companies in the financial market and profited like crazy from it. Out of nowhere, these guys are linking that dungeon to the stock market. And obviously, our boy is thinking that these guys are trying to do the same thing here, just to make money. The white-haired guy says he can leave the rest up to imagination, but wants to know if the kid will accept or not. Our boy obviously refuses. Says it's a tempting offer, but you'd only take a deal like that if he was the one making all the money. The guy says that's a shame and asks him to return the box. On top of that, from now on, they'd start collecting interest from the kid. Endu is a bit confused, but the guy says he is, and that the interest is his life. After hearing and speaking about the whole plan, he only has 2 choices. Either he cooperates or he dies. But our boy, man, he already pulls out his blade, asking if they really think they're gonna win. The guy says that under normal circumstances, maybe not. They wouldn't stand a chance. But they just completed this secret test, so now's not the time to underestimate them. He pokes at his own neck and says he's about to show why a player's skill is useless against the Black Guild. And man, it wasn't just him. Everyone in the guild went full psycho, cracked out on some kind of drug. The guy's already turned purple, laughing like a maniac, while Endu is just watching to see what they'll do. And it seems that even Endo doesn't know what kind of doping item that is. He's watching, trying to see changes, but he's not noticing anything. Suddenly, he looks at the box and says he'll go ahead with that part of the plan. The group calms down for a second, and one of them presses a button on a device. The box in Endu's hand explodes, and everyone starts laughing at the poor guy like he's some idiot. The leader walks up, saying it's hilarious how players die in such an easy trap. All they have to do is draw attention to their body and distract them with something like that. Too bad they couldn't use the kid as a pawn. But when the smoke clears, obviously, Endu wasn't there. Only the box remained. At that exact moment, everyone gets slashed from behind, man. The white-haired guy is casting fire, but he's hitting more of his own people than Endu. Even so, he's smiling, saying he's gonna burn to death right there. Until the protagonist, man, looked like he was in front of him, but in reality he was already behind him with a knife at his neck, saying, "You're not bad, but still, you've got no chance." At that moment, his chain skill activates, and the sucker wants to know how the hell he's still moving after the explosion. Endu just replies that the moment he picked up the box of revolution, he felt something was off. It was way heavier than normal. The guy asks why he accepted it if he already knew. And our boy says he's underestimating high-level players way too much. Any kind of explosive that fits in a little box like that doesn't stand a chance against him. But of course, with the damage they cause, he's gonna have to wipe out everyone's bank accounts. He then calls Rumi, tells her to look at the investment market and find out where there's a bunch of betting going on against Japan's stock. He needs the exact location of the companies in that region because they're going to have to protect it. The guy laughs and asks if he's trying to play a hero. But man, we already know that if there's one thing that Bastard isn't, it's a hero. He says that if people are expecting those stocks to drop, that means the price must be low. In other words, he's gonna buy everything and make a fortune. The white-haired guy, pure capitalist, tells him to wait, saying that's too cruel. He warns that Endu is risking his life seriously by going up against the entire Black Guild. But man, Endu just says that for money, he can make anyone in the world his enemy. But clearly, they would have to cooperate with him. The guys obviously say they're not going to cooperate no matter what. That's when Endu asks Rumi if the re-education course is ready. Imagining a bunch of torture tools, she says yes, but she's not sure if it's ready to use yet. He tells her not to worry about the details, he's got someone eager to take the test. Then our boy opens the evolution box and the sorcerer fragment evolves to rank E. Man, it's not super strong for a rank up. But okay, right? We've got to remember, he was the former rank 1, the only person to ever beat the game. Of course he's strong, damn it. Sometime later at an art museum, Endu says that apparently this place is one of the targets. She says yes, he can trust her. The group responded in a very honest way. Obviously, after getting beaten up the entire afternoon, she still thinks it's risky and wants to know if he's really going alone. He says yes, and asks her to focus on something more important than his life, bro. The stock market, where he needs to make a ton of money. Ah, actually this museum turned into one of the tests, right? Let's start calling these tests dungeons, yeah? Because that's what they are. And right at that moment, there's a guy posting on social media looking for the group. The same fool is in the crowd yelling that the team going to conquer this place is about to move out. This dude is the leader of the group known as Teikiza. Obviously, our boy is already nearby in disguise, impressed that there are more than 100 players. Teikiza thanks everyone for showing up to help protect the country. That's because this is one of those dungeons where if they don't take care of it, the whole place gets destroyed and monsters invade the city out of nowhere. Endu's impressed that there are over 100 players. The problem is, obviously, the Black Guild is probably full of spies among them. Maybe it'd be a good idea to identify them before everything kicks off. Then Teikiza tells them to charge forward and to call out if they find any strong enemies. Endu is happy that there won't be any strategy. At least he can move freely. Now that he already knows who the spy is, he just has to wait for the right moment and spring the ambush. Damn man, out of the 107 people participating in this, he's the only one who's not a spy. Now it makes sense why there are so many people here. Damn Japan, y'all are really screwed, huh? And not even one honest little Japanese dude, except our boy, who's not even honest either. He's only here for the money. Everyone's still in the play acting, with Teikiza telling them to proceed carefully, stay alert, blah blah blah. Inside the museum, it's really still a museum, even though it's a dungeon. But from one second to the next, our boy is surrounded by 4 people with spray cans in hand. They shake them up, and what the heck, man? They tried to set him on fire. Obviously, he managed to jump back up and, in a second, started beating up who knows how many of them. He thinks it's funny how fast they went all in like that. Then suddenly, Teikiza comes running, asking what's going on. Endu says someone attacked out of nowhere and he had to defend himself. The leader apologizes and asks if he's really okay. But from the side, he's already going for a stab too. But bro, with just 2 fingers, Endu stops the attack. The leader realizes, yeah, he shouldn't have done that. Now he gets thrown way off, but dang, he actually managed to stay on his feet. The protagonist, though, is pissed. They had the audacity to attack him with a knife that's not even a game item. In other words, something bought at a dollar store. And then he says he's done hiding. He already knows that everyone in this place is a pawn of the Black Guild. Teikiza thanks him, saying they won't need any little tricks then. But some guys behind them ask what's this about the Black Guild. As far as they can heard, the request was to protect this place from some weird environmental organization. That's when the leader realizes his plan is kind of falling apart. So he immediately switches strategies, asking why Endu doesn't join them. Their mission wasn't to kill the boy, it was just to protect this place. If they could avoid the fight, that would be best for both sides. And if the boy wanted, they could even talk to the higher-ups to get him 50 to 100 per day. Not a bad deal at all. The others, however, start complaining, saying their pay is only 30 man. But obviously, Endu just apologizes and says unfortunately, they'll have to refuse. Because right, he's out here playing with the stock market, which is way more worth it. The leader says that's a shame, because now he'll have to die after all. And announces, whoever lands the first hit, whoever deals the most damage, and whoever's the best fighter against Endo, all get 100k. Immediately, the whole group charges in, everyone desperate and blinded by the money. But man, they came at him with buckets, and obviously he's just handling them all bare-handed with taps to the back of the head. The leader steps in, but they didn't even bother animating his attack properly, so you already know, right? He just takes a knee to the face and hits the floor. With that, our boy claps his hands, saying it's handled. The rest of the players getting back up are just begging to be spared. Already on the phone, our boy says he's got something good. 100 new people to farm money for him in this world. Rumi instantly gets it and asks if these 100 are going through re-education. He says it's not that serious, just one rebellious leader who'll need that process. But suddenly, a purple sword comes flying and lands in the middle of the hall. Endo dodges it and while backing away, sees someone on the second floor. He says the little rat finally showed up, took long enough. The guy asks if he already had a clue and Endo says obviously, those guys were way too weak to be the real threat. Plus, in the middle of the crowd, this guy's aura was way off. The guy replies that now it makes sense why he couldn't find an opening. Then charges in, saying he wants to see how long Endo can hold up. Straight up brawl, sword clashing with dagger, dodges, energy blasts. The guy comes in again and our boy answers back. But now, he takes a slash that rips his mask. Endo says he finally found someone from his old days in the game. He says he knows it's Yudo, who replies it's an honor to see Endo. Too bad they're meeting like this, because now he's got to kill him. Just now, I realized the bastard's using a full-on Star Wars-style lightsaber, right? Don't ask why I hadn't noticed that earlier, but for the love of God, man, you're not a Jedi. Wake up. Now that his identity is exposed, Endo takes off the mask and asks if the guy really thinks he can win. He activates the Jewel Blade user's ability, charges in, saying he has no choice but to finish him here, and activates Super Acceleration again. Man, the guy's really fast. He lands a hit on Endo's shoulder. So quick, not even the artist can draw a proper frame. Just a bunch of sparkly effects. But no big deal. Soul Eye activated, and now Endo can see. The guy's level 38, and yeah, he's got some decent stats. He comes to slash Endo from behind, but once again, our boy blocks. Before the guy can react, he takes a kick to the chest, slam into the wall, coughing up blood. Endo mocks him, saying it's pointless to be that fast, if the strength behind the strike is so weak. Once again, he pulls out that chain ability. Yudo recognizes it and says that shouldn't even work, considering the level difference between them. But Endo simply says that Yudo doesn't get it. The level difference between them is huge right now. Then our boy asks why he, Yudo, such a skilled player, doesn't just leave the Black Guild and start making money with him. With the skills Yudo has, it wouldn't be hard. Yudo, however, replies that he can't. Endo asks why and Yudo says he can't say. Our boy snaps his fingers, and the guy starts agonizing but still doesn't say a word. The only thing he manages to say is that he can't say anything about that person. That's when Endo says it's starting to make sense and asks where Hishashi is. For Yudo not to be leaking any info, Hishashi must have been taken hostage. Yudo's expression changes and he says Endo was right. Then he falls to the floor, face down, begging for forgiveness. Prophecy Online was a game that had a bad reputation because of its ridiculous difficulty. Basically, it was a game where anyone who played it wanted to quit immediately, because it was super boring to just keep dying over and over. And obviously, because of that, the harder zones were basically abandoned. No one was around to group up with. A lot of frontline players knew each other, and that's how our boy found out about Yuto and Hishashi, his younger brother. But toward the end of the game, our dear Endo had gotten so strong that teaming up with those guys didn't make much sense anymore. Still, they kept in touch through chat. Back in the present, he says that after all that silence, he never imagined they'd meet again like this. Now he just wants to know, where's Hishashi? Yudo bows his head and says he really doesn't know. They didn't even give him the location. Still on his knees, he asks if Endo's subclass isn't Soul Blacksmith, and if he can't use that to locate his brother. Endo stands and says yes, he has the skill. But this isn't a game anymore, man. This is the real world. And in the real world, if you want something to happen, you've got to throw down money. Maybe, if his friend gave him everything he had, Endo might consider it. Yudo starts crying, saying that's fine. He just wants Hishashi to be saved. Our boy asks for an item belonging to him to track, and he hands over a cap. Then Endo activates Soul Search for Hishashi Miya. But man, the system says the target was not found. That's because he's already dead. Yikes, poor guy, our boy just delivered the bad news. And the one who killed him was someone named Raven. Yudo, obviously, punches the ground in rage. He explains that this was the bastard who had his brother as a hostage and forced him to work. And now, of course, he swears he's going to kill this guy. He immediately tells our boy that he's going to work for him and make as much money as he wants. The only thing he asks in return is help to kill Raven. Endo responds that he's pretty pissed too. Hishashi was like a younger brother to him. Yudo's smiling, but our boy tells him not to get ahead of himself. And man, he walks away saying that right now, he's got money to make, and he can't get caught up in a fight where he'll only lose. Damn, that one hit hard. Capitalism really corrupts the soul of man. Right then, he gets a message from someone asking if it's true he fought the Black Guild in the museum test. From the chocolate emoji you already know, it's her, our badass. She's offering a request, and he's already curious what it is. Right away, she says the government will pay $1 billion to whoever takes out the Black Guild's HQ. He's confused, wanting to know where this request even came from. Ah, it wasn't for him, it was for Wings of Genesis. But, you know, she shared it with him because he's the man. He asks if it's really okay to leak that info, and she says it's fine because it's him. Besides that, she says she'll share a secret. Apparently, the Black Guild has over 10 million in stored assets. If they manage to take these guys out and say they didn't find anything, maybe they can make a big profit. Now the game has changed, and Endo turns to Yudo, asking if Raven happens to be at the central base of the Black Guild. He replies yes, that guy is the leader of the Japanese branch of the Black Guild, a very cautious person who rarely ever leaves the main base. Our boy smiles, saying he's changed his mind then. It's time to avenge the little brother, because this world is way too cruel to let people like that walk around freely. Next scene, he's already on his way to the place. Tsukino was about to send the location, but he was already ahead of her, man. She's kind of surprised, wanting to know how he already knew. The government had just passed that on to her. He just says he's got his own sources and asks if she needs anything. She then asks if he can give some backup to the police, right? Because if those guys had to fight against players, they wouldn't stand a chance. Endu says he charges 100,000 yen for every Black Guild member he captures, and another 100,000 yen for every police officer he protects. She says fine, she'll try to talk to the government, but if they don't pay, they will. Then he tells Yudo to stay put for now, since everyone thinks he's dead, and that's a good chance for him to lay low. Yudo says okay, but asks him to be careful. In front of the building where the base is located, I thought it'd be some secret investigation or stealth operation, but it's packed with reporters, police tape, and everything else. Oh wait, never mind, I was confused. One of the guys tells him not to go in, saying there's a gas leak. But Endu just says he's with Wings of Genesis, and the guy immediately lets him in. Then he heads to a table and announces that backup has arrived. But one of the strategists turns around and says they don't need support from a player with no real-life experience in situations like this. He tells Endu to stay put and not try anything funny that could mess up their operation. Right then he hears the signal for the police team to advance. From a distance, Endu drops a tip, saying they really shouldn't be doing something like that. At that exact moment, one of the upper floors explodes and a bunch of cars come rushing toward the crowd. Our boy goes all angelic, looking like Sailor Moon with sparkles all around. Using his soul lines, he creates a golden Spider-Man-style web to stop the debris and keep anyone from getting hurt. He waves goodbye to the dudes and jumps straight to the top of the building. Up there, he finds a bunch of soldiers lying on the floor. As expected, the place was empty. Lying down there, yep, it's the fool who said he didn't need help. At least now he's begging for no one to die, since each person's save equals another 100,000 in his account. Even better, our Peter Parker wannabe webs them all up and brings them down safely. With that, he waves them off, saying his job here is done. He goes back to Yudo and says the job's done, sipping a juice box, then asks where the other bases are. Yudo replies that unfortunately, this is the only one he knows. When he was working with those guys, he got a few items and messages on his phone, but nothing beyond that. Endu says that's fine. He already had a zone he was suspicious of anyway. Yudo says that with so many people around and everyone hunting them, it'd have to be a place where cameras weren't a problem. Also somewhere strong players wouldn't normally show up. Then he asks, wouldn't the perfect place be a deserted dungeon with bad rewards? Endu says that's exactly it. He's already got his guild and the gold farmers looking into it. Yudo, confused, asks what kind of guild name is that? And Endu says his guild better be respected. Besides, now he's definitely part of it, so he better start making money. Yudo says alright, but still wants to know, where's the rest of the guild to help fight? But our boy says they've got more important things to do back at the office. Everyone's busy stacking coins, super important stuff. Then he gets a message from Rumi, saying that after all the analysis, only one dungeon fits all the criteria perfectly. The place didn't even have an official address, so she marked it on the map instead. Endu knows this place as the Castle of Carnage. It's the perfect place to set up a base since it has respawn zones. That means when you kill a monster, after a while it spawns again and you can keep farming it. For someone trying to hide and keep leveling, it was the perfect place. He then asks if Yudo prepared what he asked for, and he says it was expensive. Man, a car that in theory could handle any terrain. To be honest though, man, it looks like just another basic city SUV. Bro, you should have gone with a pickup. A monster tractor, that's what it should have been. Endu gets in the car and just tells him to floor it. If they get any fines, he'll pay. No care for safety, huh? Gotta run someone over, man. You're not a healer, you bastard. They follow the GPS with his buddy calling out directions, and then our boy activates his mask. They go climbing the mountain and take flight. Man, what is this? Hot Wheels track? Is this a hunter's car? What kind of madness is this? Ah, now it makes sense. That bastard activated an ability that sort of makes it float and reduces impact. Yudo's having fun, and sometime later he stops. But Indo's the one who can't take it, man. And there they are, face to face with the Castle of Carnage. Our boy tells them not to forget the bags because they'll have to carry stuff out. Yudo wants to know what's in there and of course, weapons to wipe out a large group like that. In front of the castle, there's a group on guard, and just behind the trees, the two are getting ready. One guy leaning on the gate says, man, it'd be nice if a woman showed up. But the guy in the beanie tells him to stop dreaming. No men show up here, let alone a woman. The friend laughs but says he already knows what he's gonna do when the money comes in. Our boy is eager to jump in and finish this. But Yudo recognizes those guys were from the old base, which means, confirmed, they're part of the Black Guild. Our boy asks how they usually guard the locations, and Yudo says he has no idea. At the last base, they acted like it was just an office, so they didn't literally have guards. On the other hand, at this place, they destroyed the other bridges and are using a barrier around the outer wall. Endu quickly understands. They were concentrating all their firepower at that one entrance to deal with anything, because with only one way in, they didn't have to worry about invasions. Yudo says it won't be easy. At a minimum, there must be about 30 guys, enough to guard the whole region. Endu knows that weaklings don't matter. He wants to know if anyone there can actually fight. And Yudo says he is. This place has at least 3 people as strong or stronger than him. One called Jack, one called Cloaky, and the last one, he already knows. Raven. Endu smiles, saying maybe this really will be fun. Only problem is, he doesn't want anyone escaping during the fight, because each one he captures is worth big money, man. Yudo asks if he's really doing this just for the money, and Endu asks, would there be any other reason? Then he asks if Raven is fast enough to escape mid-battle. Right away, Yudo's expression changes. Considering these guys killed his brother, there's no way he wants to let any of them live. Our boy thanks him, saying not to worry. To make sure no one escapes out the door, he's going to request support from Wings of Genesis. But obviously, they'd have to hold the fort until backup arrives. Yudo wants to know, will they really do that? Or is it just the 2 of them? And our boy says, of course it's just the 2 of us. They're more than enough. Right away, he sends a message to Tsukino saying it's time to start Operation Confinement. She receives the message, and right then, Yudo activates acceleration and rushes across the bridge. The poor suckers by the gate were totally distracted. And man, Yudo's really a different beast, huh? He rolled up cutting arms and legs off everyone. What the hell, man? The dude's really the little badass, huh? If it were our boy, he'd probably just try to slap everyone on the back of the neck, to make more money. Right away, Endu drops his backpack on the ground and says it's time to begin preparations. Suddenly, he uses a shake and a bunch of coins scatter around the entrance area. Then he says all they have to do now is wait for the rest of the guys to come out. And at that same second, there they are, man. Awakened players coming in for the attack. Obviously, you already know what he activates, right, bro? Coin explosion, that cheap trick he stole from Koki. The poor guys got thrown all over the place, bodies flying up and down, man. And he says there's nothing better than wiping out the weak all in one go. In the middle of it, a thick smoke screen rolls in, and no one can see a thing. Obviously, right then, Endu slips through. And man, he's got no mercy. When it comes to killing villains, these 2 really don't hold back, huh? All smiling while doing it. But suddenly, the Walmart Wolverine was behind Endu. Except a second later, his head gets disconnected too. Yuto, lighting something, asks if that's a cigarette, completely distracted to have missed something so obvious. To which Endu replies that he's saving a few tricks, since he doesn't want anyone watching from the cameras to see everything. But that alone already seemed like provocation enough. He charges his blade, destroys the camera that was being broadcast live to a packed room. And of course in that room is Raven, saying that now they're coming here. A woman stands up and says one of them is the traitor Meta Yuto, but she has no idea who the other guy is. The dude with the wings on the left says they're checking national data, but no info's showing up. Raven's curious, wants to know how that bastard Yuto found out about his brother's death. Flashback time, probably the moment when his brother was complaining to him, saying he had some questions about the next mission. Raven just asks if things haven't been too easy so far, but Ishashi says it's not about the difficulty. He just doesn't understand the point of killing people like this. Raven tries to explain that it's the order of a very rich person, and they're just following instructions. But obviously, Hishashi refuses. Raven insists, saying that in this place, things are simple. The order comes in, they kill, and get paid. Hishashi then asks why they're targeting Wings of Genesis. Raven replies that he has some strange ideas, but the kid keeps pressing, saying that the target is someone from their old days, a gentle person, a healer that no one ever hated. He doesn't see any reason to kill someone like that, unless the plan is to destroy Wings of Genesis. Besides that, he understands that they're aiming at that person, because healers are extremely important to a guild and at the same time easy to kill. Raven says he's overthinking and asks what benefit he'd get from killing someone that weak. But man, Hishashi lays out the whole theory right to his face, saying that Raven's trying to block the test. He knows that right now Japan depends heavily on that guild. If they were destroyed, the test progress would definitely be delayed, and the Black Guild would profit from that. Raven responds that the kid's smarter than he expected. Too bad he phrased things wrong. They didn't just want to destroy Genesis, they wanted to destroy all of Japan. All they needed was another failed national test. As Hishashi starts to say that something feels really wrong, his leg is already being locked up. Raven says his opinion doesn't matter, because his life ends now. He activates a Shadow Prison. This power kind of reminds you of Endo's chains, huh? Hishashi warns that if he dies, his brother will do whatever he wants, and not even Raven can stop him. But the Black Guild leader just says that guy is easy to handle. Hishashi tries to say something, but the guy just pulls out a spear and says it's fine. He's going to die here, and no one's ever going to find out. A clean stab through the chest. The kid's pinned to the wall, man. Back in the present, the old man says. That's why he wanted to keep the kid locked up. Now they've lost their only leverage to deal with that guy. That guy there's the one called Cloaky Man. Raven, though, says it was a special case. That kid was starting to talk too much, and the Black Guild can't allow information to spread. The old man agrees. All he wants is for Japan to be destroyed so he can make a ton of money and live peacefully in a resort somewhere. Maybe Hawaii or the Maldives. The little blonde kid next to him, though, says the old man's going too far. He should pick some hobbies more suited to that toy collection he's got, right? And that blonde kid, yep, that's Jack. The old man tells him to shut up, they start fighting, and the guy even pulls out a dagger. Raven tells everyone to calm down. Then the woman reminds them they better make a plan fast, since they sent everyone to stall the enemy, and they're all being picked off one by one. Raven stands and says fine, if it's like that, he'll handle it, but tells them to alert the boss. While walking down the hallway, Jack and Clokey wonder if it really takes all of them just to deal with those two weirdos. Raven tells them to stop underestimating the targets. Even a cornered rat can beat a cat. Not to mention they have no clue what that blonde-haired guy's power is. Suddenly, one of the dudes does a Fortnite emote, starts spinning his spear, slams it on the ground, and says he's gonna kill those two. Meanwhile, outside, all the grunts are lying dead on the floor. Endu is impressed. They just keep on coming. Yudo tells him to calm down. Not even half of them have shown up yet. But then they hear footsteps behind them, and when they turn around, Raven is approaching. Endu asks what's up, and right away his friend says he finally showed up. The bastard who killed his brother. The guy spreads his arms and says, if you're that angry, you must already know what happened. Yudo replies yes, he's here to avenge Hishashi. But the moment he tries to activate super acceleration, nope, it's on cooldown for 3 more hours. Yeah man, should have saved it. But fine, he's already up on the bridge, rushing in anyway, on pure instinct. Endu notices that his friend lost his cool, but for now, he'll let him do what he wants, just to see how he handles it. Problem is, in midair, he's interrupted by Jack, who lands an aerial slash. Our Walmart Jetty asks who did that, looks to the side. Yep, there's the bastard. Jack says anyone who steps into this place is only here to die. Clokey, the sword-licking freak, says it's pretty rude for Jack to speak like that to someone who came here to avenge his brother. Yudo simply replies that if those two showed up, they must be taking this seriously. Yeah, no kidding, man. You're invading their base and slaughtering everyone. Would be weird if they weren't serious. Endu asks who those two are, and if he should just blow them up with coins already. But man, Yudo ignores him completely, turns to Raven, and asks why Hishashi was killed. The leader simply says it was nothing major. The rat tried to bite the master and had to be destroyed. Yudo asks if it was just for going against him, and Raven says of course. An animal that loses its usefulness must be incinerated. Yuto is about to lose it, but he's being attacked from both sides. But Endu jumps in at that moment, slashes hard. I thought he cut the old guy's head off, but since he's still got his head on, guess not. Yudo uses the opening to go after Raven again, who says that without his acceleration, there's no way he can win. A swing of the spear and a fortress of ice is created. But man, don't underestimate our Jetty, okay? He does the most Jirei-like move possible, merges his 2 blades for a stronger slash. The explosion from the overheat easily melts the ice. Now both of them are smiling at each other, saying, you fell into my trap. And Endao, watching from the side, seems to notice that something is about to go wrong. He sends some coins flying and activates a skill that lands right in front of his friend, blasting him backward. Yuno asks why he did that, but our boy just says that he needs to pay attention. He has no idea what would have happened if Endo hadn't interfered. That's when Yudo notices. Where he landed there was a gigantic pillar of ice. If not for that explosion pushing him, he would have been crushed under it. Endu tells him, don't go dying like that, man. You still have a lot of money to earn for me. Besides, he didn't need to worry. If he died, revenge would be impossible, and in the end, Endu would guarantee the win anyway. At that moment, Raven says he doesn't recognize him and asks if he's the guy who interfered at the museum too. Endao, dodging attacks while fighting, tells him not to go throwing around false accusations like that. Raven wants to know then, why is he opposing the Black Guild? Why risk so much to side with someone weak like Yuto? And Endu answers, obviously. Come on, man, take a wild guess. For money, of course, bro. Raven is a little confused, wanting to know if he's really making an enemy of the Black Guild just for that. Man, I'm starting to think our boy likes money a bit more than normal, and that class change thing. I'm starting to think it's related. I feel like whatever his class is, he's going to need to spend like, I don't know, 50 billion, 20 billion, you know what I mean. That's why he wants so much money. It's the only thing that makes sense. And there he is, easily defeating the two fools, saying there's nothing more important in this world than money. Not to mention he's getting paid to take down this base. Just like Raven killed Hishashi to protect the Black Guild's profits, today Raven will die so that Endu profits. Man, out of nowhere he went full swag, activating the soul limit break. I thought he used it on himself, but turns out it's actually a buff he gave to Yudo. A message pops up asking if Yudo wants to accept the power, but warns that there will definitely be side effects. Yudo accepts, and the soul break is activated. With that, all cooldowns on skills are reset, and temporarily he's buffed up, thanks to Endu. Our boy smiles and says, now you've got what it takes. In the same instant, a pillar of light shoots up into the sky, and Yudo activates acceleration. However, even so, Raven didn't seem very intimidated. He threw a few spinning attacks, but this time Yudo was dodging. Face to face, the guy asks if he forgot. He was the person who knew his moves best, and even though his speed with 2 blades was impressive, he still had 3 weaknesses. The minion is thrusting, saying the worst of them is that his reach is short, and Yudo is impressed that this bastard could actually keep up with the speed he had. Raven continues, saying the second problem is that there's no power behind his attacks. A light hit sent him stumbling backward with his hand trembling. Lastly, he launches another burst of gyro at the ground, saying the worst issue is that his ability has a time limit. The moment that acceleration ends, victory is guaranteed. Yudo focuses, thinking that it's true. He doesn't have the strength to beat this guy. But even so, he's not going to give up. There's only one ability of this guy he has to watch out for. Raven had a reverse type ability that when you took damage, it would counter and send the attack back, and Yudo decides he's going to strike before that can activate. Raven is being pulled back and wondering how something like this is even possible, to which Yudo replies that he doesn't know either man, but of course it's the effect of the blessing our boy gave. But right at that moment, Raven does exactly what he feared. He activates the reverse thing and lands a strike straight to the chest. Yudo crashes back into the wall, spitting blood like crazy, and Raven says that now he'll finally be able to see his brother again. But then something's coming from behind. He barely dodges the sword that embeds itself into the wall. He turns around and says not to interfere, his chance will still come. But our boy is just giving support, telling Yudo to use that. Right then, Yudo pulls the sword out of the wall, and before Raven can react, he's already stabbed in the chest, saying that he learned how to use daggers from the king. The king gives a groan man. When he pulls back, the blade hits the ground face first. Then the kid smiles, saying he finally avenged Hizashi. He remembers everything they went through. And the system announces that the effect of the soul limit break has ended and now his life will start draining. All he really wanted, though, was to beat this guy using his own moves. That's when Endo catches him and says he pretty much won this on his own. All he did was give a little help. Yudo smiles and asks about Jack and Cloaky, who of course our boy had already taken out a while ago. They're lying there unconscious, but we're about to see that fight from a few minutes earlier. He was just enjoying himself watching Yudo's fight, not even paying attention to those two. Meanwhile, the guys in the background were yelling not to forget about them. Jack tried to activate a death aura. Man launched a huge slash in his direction. Endu got stuck kind of in a path from the land of darkness, and the kid was floating there, drawing giant runes. Endu was dodging, but at the same time the old man was coming from behind with more attacks, saying there was no way he'd be able to dodge in midair. But man, our boy, has always disappeared even for the animator. He finished off poor Jack, who was suddenly behind the old man, saying only an idiot would throw his weapon at far away in the middle of a fight. With that, it looks like he was sliced. Yudo laughs. He already expected it to be an instant annihilation, because our boy said obviously the power gap between them is huge. Then Yudo apologizes, saying unfortunately he can't move. But right then someone else shows up, saying it's too early for them to relax. Straight out of Minecraft, the guy says he didn't think that Trash would actually beat Raven. Endo's surprised that reinforcements from those bastards arrived before the Wing of Genesis he made sure to notify before entering. And obviously, he's super happy, right man? Each one of them was worth 100k head and there were like 20 more. He already draws his sword saying, this dungeon's definitely a good one. Man, thank God they didn't even say that guy's name because he's already face down on the floor crying. Wow, the boy even says he's impressed. The guy was way weaker than he looked. That's when the others show up, man. The Wing of Genesis arrives after everything's already over, and they took forever. Our boy takes off the mask, saying that for now it's good to drop the disguise. At least in the Wing of Genesis, there's Tsukino, who's well drawn. She praises him, saying she can't believe they went alone, to which our boy says those guys were pretty easy. She wants to know where the friend he mentioned is, and he points to the ground, man. Poor Alita's probably suffering. She already realizes that for normal people, this fight wasn't so easy. Then Tsukino says that the Wing of Genesis will begin the containment of this place. The guy with the cap says it's useless. They should just kill everyone because they're all criminals anyway. The bald guy agrees, but she just says she rejects that. The commander here was Endo, and they would follow the orders he gave. Look at the respect for the boy. Suddenly, someone behind knocks over a cone and tells them to pay attention, warning that Tsukino already gave the rules, so they better follow them. That's Hoshino Yori, right? Another always welcome friend. The guy tells her to stop getting involved, and the two start arguing. But then the boys tell everyone to shut up and understand. The strength of these guys was in their numbers, and to prevent some from escaping, they needed to surround the place. Besides that, they would only block exit, not invade. If someone wanted to leave, let them. The guy with the cap and the bald guy keep insisting, saying their plan is better and telling anyone who agrees to raise their hand. But man, no one wants to go against Endo, right? Everyone just stays quiet. The cap guy complains to her, but she just says, look, she already gave the rule, damn it, just follow the damn thing. That's when Endo notices something's off and tells Yudo to keep an eye on those two. Night falls and they really had set up camp outside the base, and little by little, the guy was arrested. They were having a barbecue, man. What the hell? The guys are all inside, locked up, the whole Black Guild squad, and they're outside roasting marshmallows. Our boy is even wearing an apron, saying that the info about him requesting reinforcements got leaked since enemies arrived before they did. Besides that, he says they're hanging out eating, stalling, while the guys inside are starving. Since no dungeon has food, sooner or later they'll come out, and they'll take them to jail. Yuto agrees. That part of the meat plan is perfect, but Endo replies that the barbecue idea was from the Wing of Genesis. The girls are saying this is the perfect way to fight at full performance. You have to be well-fed and rested. In other words, they're like the moms of the guild, taking care of the boys like kids. Suddenly, Tsukino senses something and says two suspicious people were coming their way. Right away, Endo gets up saying he's going to handle it. The bald guy apparently says, it's just two people, man, no need to stress so much, since it's just a recon attack. But Endo just says that in this new world, quality matters way more than quantity. It's better to face 100 weak people than one really strong guy. Then he asks Yudo if he knows who was above Raven in the ranking. He says yes, it was Beta, Gamma, and Alpha. Man, they're only missing Sigma now. Where's our beloved American Psycho? Then they manage to get footage of these guys running through the forest, and he sees both their faces, already warning that those two were faces he'd never seen before. But maybe, from what he heard, they were Beta and Gamma. At that moment, Yudo is sure, man, the last one must still be inside the castle as a red pill syndrome, since he calls himself Alpha and even asks for reinforcements. Beautiful Tsukino asks if he wants her to take one of them out. Her plan is she'll fight one, our boy another, and the rest of the team will all go for the last. Yudo, however, says they need to be careful, especially with Alpha. He seems like the weirdest one of them all. You guys already know that Endo is asking, by any chance, did hunting stronger enemies give a bigger reward? She says no, the reward was the same for any head. He replies that that's super boring, since that way he might as well just keep killing weaklings. But alright, he tells Yudo to keep an eye on that area. Sometime later, Tsukino and Yudo were getting ready to approach the enemies. But out of nowhere, a scream echoes through the forest and a bunch of birds start flying up. She turns around and tells everyone to fall back, but man, a Kamehameha comes flying in, drags everyone, destroys the wall, and leaves a train track path on the ground. And there he is, with his little purple hair, saying he didn't expect a total annihilation. What the hell? But the important members of our group survive, and she says those guys won't be easy to beat. The second Yudo says he'll take care of a few. She says that won't be possible, because she's going to take both of them down now. She already launches a wave of fire in their direction, man. But it looks like they just crossed their arms and took the hit full on. Though weirdly, there's a peculiar guy on the rooftop saying that's very rude. Was it a good idea to mess with Tsukino? That guy already looks like the type of villain who loves doing bad things to women for sure. Her clan, however, is impressed by her attack that left a trail of fire. And she's all cool and stylish, saying that the flame cyclone wasn't really meant to be used against humans. But right in the middle of her speech, yeah man, one of the guys jumps through the flames and rushes her. She manages to block the first attack, and he compliments her, saying that for the leader of this guild, she wasn't bad at all. Then another one comes in from below to land another blow, but Hoshino blocks it, and she does too. Damn girl, blocking two big swords with that dagger, you're efficient. The guy compliments her, saying she's really strong. The women are taking over. Weirdly, Tsukino just thanks him for the praise, but the guy in front of her warns that if her friend hadn't interfered, she'd already be dead. Transcendental monsters like her are like that, experienced in fighting monsters, but weak against players. She tells him to stop underestimating her. He has no idea how far above them she is. But he jumps in already, saying that he doesn't just have experience in fighting, he has experience in killing people. He activates an ability up in the sky as she's heading toward him. Out of nowhere, he pulls a needle from his nose, or his mouth, I don't even know, man, and sticks it right into her shoulder. She falls, pulls it out of her arm, but obviously, yeah man, it was poisoned. And now she's seeing everything all distorted. Damn. And it was a deadly potion too. Man, the healers see it and immediately start using healing magic. But even under the effect of 2 heals, the poison keeps spreading across her face. The healers are freaking out because it's not working, and the guy says it's useless. Now I really want to know who's Beta and who's Gamma. I think the guy is Beta, right? The pale one must be Beta. And he says that right now, there's no one with enough color or / power to stop that poison. Tsukino stabs her sword into the ground and says, fine. Since that's the case, all she has to do is finish him off before the poison spreads. And she launches another attack at Beta, but he's just laughing, saying her strength really is amazing. It's just a shame she doesn't know how to use it against a person. He moves in for another slash, but right in front of him, she throws another cyclone of fire. The guy keeps laughing, saying none of it makes any sense. But right at that moment, someone comes from behind with a massive hammer. And man, they slam him right in the spine and smash him into the ground. I don't know how the bastard already broke free, but now his arm is wrecked too. He tried to retreat, but more hits were already coming from behind, man. The Wing of Genesis had a girl with a spear taking aim, another with a bow, and a guy up top with a sword no one even cared about. The 3 attacks hit Beta dead in the back, man, and he was blown up. And Tsukino says that even though her area attack doesn't do much damage to a single target, it's perfect for cutting off someone's vision and letting others get close. At that moment, she falls face first to the ground and the crew runs over to help. Meanwhile, Beta falls dead to the ground, and because of that, his poison is automatically removed. That's just how things work in the game world, man. The buff guy compliments Tsukino, saying her distraction plan really worked. And she replies, of course it did. The power of the Wing of Genesis isn't about individuals. Meanwhile, Yudo and the other guy are fighting. But in this case, Yudo is wrecking him. It's probably Gamma trying to understand how this bastard who betrayed him got so strong. In theory, this kid was way weaker. The problem is that this damn girl is always at his side, getting in the way. Hoshino Eori had the profession of elite thief. 28 years old, unmarried, lived in the city of Musashino, and was part of a theater group. Man, why do you have all that info? Or were the ones receiving it? Now I'm confused. This guy's a dangerous stalker. Just take him out already. Gamma is there trying to understand how he's being pushed like this, and he knows that if he doesn't end it soon, he's going to die. Right when he's about to take a headshot from behind, he activates a blade storm and throws both of them aside. He tries to retreat, but right then, Spider-Man attacks again, man. The light strings from our boy show up. Wait, I thought our boy used that ability. But it was Hoshino Eori. She strung him up in a cocoon and activated the soul thread incineration. Damn, she barbecued the dude for real. She's a beast. Our boy's complimenting her, but now I'm confused. Did he maybe use his skill to hide that it was him? Like she pretended she used it or something. But man, if not, then she's just a badass. What the hell? Ah, makes sense now. That's why our boy was acting all cute. He had swapped appearances with her using the mask's effect. Now there she is, sweating bullets, saying it's too much for her to keep pretending to be Endu. The bald guy is all confused, asking them to explain what happened. And she says it's a special ability she is called Visual Swap. Basically, yeah, the name already explains the effect, so there's not much to explain. Our boy says it was an idea from her and Tsukino, and it worked way better than expected. After all, he's also a specialist in fighting humans. Then they turn and announce that there's only one left, and they call out Alpha to come down already. The guy scratches his head and asks if he's that Endu Rie guy, and tells him to stop thinking he's all that. Just because he took down a bunch of weaklings doesn't mean their fate is going to change now. Then the guy up top grips his sword and sends a blast into the ground. Our boy jumps back and already tells Tsukino and the others to fall back. Hoshino is all blushing in Yudo's lap, sneaky girl. And what the hell, man, the guy sends some kind of digital-looking attack out of nowhere, almost catching our boy. And here we go again with one of those guys who uses that power to summon a bunch of swords from above. They're always strong. He says this time Endu won't escape. But man, there he is again, dodging everything and slipping through. He even uses his soul dagger to cut through the swords and undo the whole attack. But even so, that damned Alpha starts rising into the sky with swords floating around him. He compliments him, saying it's the first time he's seen someone block his attack on the first try. No wonder he was the one who passed the Earth test. The girls are all confused that this guy is flying on swords. But Endu knows it's the combo of the spiritual berserker class with the invisible soul hand, a skill that creates clones that deal absurd amounts of damage. But he warns Tsukino that what this guy is doing burns a lot of mana, which means he's going to aim for the healers so the fight doesn't drag out, so they'll need protection. Alpha almost catches him with an attack, but says that even if he knows their plans, it won't make any difference. Endu is managing to dodge, but man, this time he's struggling. That spiritual berserker class is one of the strongest at the start of the game, and Alpha tells the bastard to stop running. Meanwhile, from a distance, he's getting buffs from the tankers and all that. Then Yudo says to look properly, that Endu wasn't losing. It might seem like he was getting pushed around, but he was avoiding every fatal blow. Endu's there conserving energy while Alpha's wondering how the hell this bastard is still alive. He lands a clean hit right in the middle of his chest, telling him to quit being annoying. He summons another barrage of swords, grabs one and says that now they were going to finish this. He activates the spiritual lord, summoning another 50 blades toward Endu. But our boy just says this is tedious. The ground explodes, but he's already up in the sky. And now, man, is he summoning a little dragon? Everyone's shocked, wondering how he already has something like that. And who's this man? Our boy's got a soul servant. He already tells the big snake, there's plenty of food for you. Alpha looks really impressed and keeps attacking, saying a snake wasn't going to change this fight. But poor guy, he doesn't stand a chance. Every time Endu took one damage, the healers heal him instantly, until one of them warns that the damage he's taking is more than they can keep up with. And Alpha laughs, saying he's finally going to understand the power of the spiritual berserker class. There was no way to compete against him with the beginner's main class. Tsukino is there telling the healers to intensify the healing, and then Alpha notices something strange. The snake is twitching, and suddenly, a bunch more of them appear. Endu explains that this is what happens when you feed her that much. In a flurry of attacks, Alpha's swords are shattered. Our boy is praising the little snake's work, while the madman's charging in again. Looking at his prey, he just says that the main course has arrived. Out of nowhere, Alpha freezes mid-air, mad at being called food. Then he launches another attack, saying Endo's going to regret saying that even in his next life. Man, he creates a spiritual territory, and our boy's snake starts getting chopped into pieces. Alpha is sure that this means he won, and Endu knows it. This ability shortens sword range in exchange for summoning many more. But it's a fighting style that drains the user's own HP. He's sure the snake won't last long enough to kill his, so the guy must have another target. Right then, an attack is coming from behind. But man, look at Yudo, bro. He shows up saving our boy. Ah, the attack had been thrown by the cap guy and the bald guy, right into their backs. And now Yudo says the bastards have finally revealed their true identities. Man, he walks past and smacks each of them on the back of the head, and they both pass out. Right then, Alpha was already behind our boy, but he manages to duck. After dodging, he spins and stabs him in the shoulder, man. With that, the fool falls to the ground like a piece of trash and starts trembling, asking how it's possible he dodged that if it was a perfect surprise attack. Endu says that there's no such thing as a perfect attack, especially since he already noticed from the start that those two were spies. Coughing up like 3 liters of blood, Alpha says he'll regret making an enemy of the Black Guild. But Endu doesn't care at all, man. The main forces of that guild in Japan had been wiped out, and now was time to collect the rewards. Sometime later, our boy left the people locked up with little signs showing each of their bounties. Yeah, man, he robbed them clean, and left the place with boxes and boxes of gold to transport. The friends from the guild say the cargo's already in the truck, and he tells them to drive off. Then he turns to Tsukino and says he's done. She can keep whatever's in the castle. She, however, replies that as far as she could tell, he took everything. So yeah, there was nothing left to grab. He asks if she wants a little white powder he found, and she says no, she's good. Man's offering white powder to the waifu. Yeah, this dude's not right in the head. Next scene, we're back with the gold farmers. Yahoo notifies that the mission reward has already hit the account. Also, because of the support they're giving on government matters, they're going to receive a direct assistant. But our boy already knows that a government assistant is more of a watchdog, and he's not in the mood for someone like that. What she wants to know, though, is what they're going to do with that ton of gold. Obviously, they can't say they got it from the castle, or the government will demand it, so they're not quite sure what to do. That's when a tight skirt appears from behind, asking if he's Endu Ri. He turns around asking who she is, and she points to her face asking if he doesn't recognize her. They've met on the day he went to take the hunter ranking exam. I barely remember this crazy girl, and he apologizes, saying he doesn't remember anything that didn't make him money. Then she says it's fine and introduces herself as Sakuma Miza. Ah, now it makes sense. She's the girl who was behind the counter back then, right? She starts talking to him. But Endu only wants to know if she's there to give him money somehow or not. Man, she says yes, that's exactly why she's there. She was sent by the Japanese government as his assistant. In other words, she's there to work hard for free and you won't even have to spend money. But he just responds that people working hard for free is the one thing he already has plenty of. However, she says she'll do anything and asks if that's not enough. Everyone's all red in the face, asking if anything really means anything. The poor innocent one, right guys? She says she can clean the floor, things like that. She can also handle negotiations for resources that can't be made public. She can even look for explosives, weapons, or cover up illegal activities. What the hell, girl? Are you with the government or the mafia? You menace? Now Endo's thinking differently and already asks if, for example, she could exchange a bunch of gold bars without the government or anyone finding out. She says yes, just leave them somewhere for the government to find, classify as contraband, sell, and deposit the money into his account. If they do it as a special reward commission for the Hunter Association, there's nothing illegal. She's even giving him a cheeky look, asking if he wants to test it. He turns around and says he doesn't trust her one bit. But the poor girl is persistent and says she'll offer $5 billion up front if he agrees to do the deal this time. That'll prove to him they're being honest. He asks if she can really do that, and she says yes. It's an amount she can move without even contacting the government man. In 10 minutes, it'll be in the account. As soon as she says 10 minutes in the account, he starts a timer and tells her to do it. 10 minutes pass, and Rumi confirms that yep, minus $5 billion just hit the account straight from the player association. The innocent miniskirt girl asks if he realizes now how powerful she is. She's going to be very useful around here. Next scene, the gold bar deal is already being handled and she hands over a tablet with the info. He compliments her, saying she really is useful. Then welcomes her to the Gold Guild, but says he has one question. He wants to know what the real goal of the government is. She says it'll be obvious, so she'll be honest. All they want is to stop foreign nations from hiring hunters from his country. That's because that's how a player moves up in rank. Offers start coming in from all nations. But Endo, well, he's honest. He says that if he gets an offer from another country, he's flying there that same day. So they better make sure he earns plenty. She gives a cute little tap on her head and says okay. She guarantees it. 10 minutes later, Rumi brings her a stack of papers to handle, saying her job now is to process documents and handle the selection of next month's missions. The girl only accepts physical work. Office talk isn't her thing. Sometime later, Misa calls for our boy, saying she checked the missions and apparently none have been registered in the last 4 days. Obviously, Endu immediately finds that very suspicious. He already gives an order for her to confirm that with the government and drop everything else. Man, she goes to the drawer and pulls out a wand. Oh, she's got remote telepathy. There's this thing called a cell phone that works exactly the same. Okay, but it makes sense. Her telepathy kind of spreads everything at once, and I think she just catches the information. I don't know what the limit of that is, but she already says all the authorities responded. And really, in the last 4 days, no mission has been registered anywhere. Even the observation satellites didn't detect anything new. And it looks like this is happening in other countries too. Endu says that this is a sign that a massive mission is coming. He tells her that for now they should focus on grabbing all the missions available, because soon there'll be a long dry period. Then a system window pops up for everyone, saying that a new mission has been launched. This time it's a large-scale mission known as the Waterfall Test. They had 90 days, man, and all they had to do was defeat the boss within that time. The mission area was all of Asia. In other words, it was a continental-scale event, and if they failed, the entire region would be destroyed. Rumi wants to know what they're going to do since they got a bunch of smaller missions running right now. The bastard, as always, says to wait. It involves the entire wing. The longer they wait and the closer it gets to the end, the more they'll pay to whoever completes it. The guild members listening realize this bastard only cares about money, and he's willing to risk a whole continent for it. And the bastard even says that depending on the reward, they might abandon Asia and go somewhere else. Rumi, shocked, says that if they abandon Asia, all of Japan will be destroyed. Why would they let something like that happen? He says nothing's been decided. It all depends on the reward. So he tells her to get ready because big contracts are coming. They'd be competing with guilds from all over the world. Also, they need to start finding some partners. Their strength alone wouldn't be enough for this mission. The Wing of Genesis wasn't a bad option, but maybe there were others who'd cooperate for less. A week passes. Misa comes back with some intel, saying the first contracts have appeared. The rewards are 500 million per mission, totaling 70 billion. The missions appeared in 5 regions: America, Africa, Europe, Asia, and Australia. So what Paris didn't throw a little mission to Brazil? What's with that? Prejudice. And it looks like the only regions accepting private contracts are Australia and Asia, who are basically open to help. Obviously, hearing 70 billion already put a big smile on the bastard's face. He says large-scale missions are a whole different level. Looks like in the end they'll partner with the Wings of Genesis. After all, Tsukino's handling the negotiations, and she always ends up walking away with absolutely nothing. But looks like this time the deal is 70% for them and 30% for Tsukino, who's just smiling at our boy. Oh, poor guy, he's fallen for her, but he's doomed. Nobody's more money-hungry than a woman. Wait, nah, he's got a point, right, man? If the woman leaves, the money stays. But what if the money leaves, does the woman stay? One to think about. Then our boy asks how the other countries are doing in terms of preparation and strength comparison. Misa explains that it's kind of hard to know, because foreign guilds are doing things differently. They've got guilds full of weaklings constantly farming low-level missions. Guilds like Gold Farm and Genesis, filled with strong people, are rare. Also, the identities and whereabouts of the other Transcendentals are mostly unknown. There's a rumor about some guy in Thailand who already cleared a national-level dungeon. Whoa! Could the Muay Thai beast be arriving? She's all excited, saying that the international gathering will happen in 2 weeks, and until then, they'll prepare with the maximum amount of intel they can gather. And boom, more time passes, 2 weeks go by, and there they are in line. Man, the place is packed. But strangely, it seems like only 4 teams want to participate. Wait, then what's it crowded with? NPCs? They ask about it, like, aren't the international guilds interested in 70 billion? Misa explains that apparently 10 guilds showed interest, but they couldn't meet the required number of players. That's because this is a large-scale mission, right, man? Numbers matter a lot. Not to mention that usually people who are really strong already live well enough, so why would they take a risk on this? Tsukino says it makes sense. They also had trouble finding volunteers in their guild. She then asks how many members from Gold Farmers are coming and says it's obvious, right, man? Everyone. In their guild, if there's money involved, everyone's in or they're kicked out. Then he asks Misa if they even have a shot against the other groups that signed up. The so-called Bla Vogel, whatever that's supposed to be, and the other one, Black Dragon. She says that Weird Name 1 is a renowned international guild, and it looks like they've shown interest in the Australia mission, and it's pretty much guaranteed for them. And it seems they'll have to compete with Black Dragon in the Asia mission. But that guild has no record of clearing any national-level content, so they don't seem like much. Ruby says that since they've got Wings of Genesis, right, who already cleared that one national dungeon, it should be easy. But judging by Misa's expression, maybe it won't be that easy. During that whole meeting, there's this guy with a fan checking out our boy. I can't tell if he's trying to look threatening, or if he's into something a little stranger. Anyway, the Australia mission contract is awarded to the Blau Vogel, who are thanking the organizers all sparkly and proud. Then it's time to discuss the Asia mission. First up are the Japanese representatives. Here comes Tsukino giving a little speech. She talks about the Gold Farmers Guild, about the Genesis Guild, and about how they've already completed a national dungeon before. Everyone starts clapping, super impressed. Wow, the girl is just smiling. Looked like the presentation went well. Only thing left was to see how the other team would present themselves. When Tsukino walks by, the Fan King thanks her for an extremely boring presentation. Then he starts walking, saying he's going to wake everyone in that room up. He tells everyone that the most important and most difficult role in a group will always be the healers. He says research shows that 70% of dungeon deaths are healers. Man, where are the tanks in this world? Can someone protect the boys? That's why his group doesn't rely on healers. They're just unnecessary liabilities that die. His group is made up solely of a sword master, a spear master, and a fist master. All of these classes can wrap their bodies in something called aura, which protects them from all unnecessary damage. Back when the game still existed, they used a similar party to clear a national dungeon called the Storm Trial. With that same strategy, they also cleared the Abyss Trial and the Eastern Lands Trial. Even though they don't have experience with the Waterfall Trial, he's sure it won't be any different if he used the same methods. Yeah, everyone's all smiles. Then Endo says, they're doomed. Tsukino responds that a group with no healers won't work for a continental scale mission. But Endo replies that depending on the mission, it can work. For the Abyss Trial, that was the best strategy. But for the Waterfall Trial, it's a terrible option and they'll definitely all die. And with that, the other team's explanation ends. The meeting was about to begin to decide who would get the chance to enter the dungeon. Our boy apparently is already leaving, while people ask him to wait, saying they have tons of data, and there's no way the judges would select a team that can't even win. He just says it doesn't matter, since in the end, they'll still come out ahead. But right at that moment, the fan guy shows up asking if the losers are already heading out. The protagonist asks what he means by that, and the guy explains that he didn't even think anyone else would dare register besides them. Tsukino keeps insisting, saying he's being too full of himself, since the result hasn't even been announced yet. But then he says he'll reveal it. The result had already been decided before this meeting, long before they even set foot in that place. Endu asks if he paid someone off or something, and the guy just says, you never know. But they should be thankful. It's ridiculous that they were planning to enter a dungeon like this bringing a healer and worse with a woman as their leader. At least this way, everyone would avoid a stupid death. Man, you don't even know who you're talking to, kid. Later, when you get sliced in half, you're gonna be the one crying. Tsukino calmly says that clearly he's arrogant and not very smart. It would be best for him to back out of the mission now instead of charging in carelessly and getting himself killed. The guy instantly loses it, yelling at her to stop underestimating the Black Dragon. He starts activating his aura and she's already going for her weapon, man. Good thing our boy shows up and tells him to stay perfectly still. The guy instantly realizes he hadn't even noticed Endu approaching. Yeah man, he's already in trouble. Our boy apologizes for his team members and says they'll stop it right there. After all, there was no point in arguing if both sides had the same opinion. They just needed to read the recruitment notice. When one team fails, the other automatically takes their spot, inheriting the contract. Not to mention, since there's less time left, they also get a bonus on top. And Endu thanks him, saying there's nothing better than getting paid more to do the same job. The Black Dragon guy laughs, saying it's really a hilarious group. One guild full of women and another literally called money farmers. The whole thing's a joke, but they better understand. They won't fail. His only regret is not letting them go in first and die. It would have been much better watching a pathetic Japanese guild get wiped. Damn man, you're working real hard to make sure no one feels bad for you when you get sliced in half later. Then the result is announced. The waterfall test contract goes to Black Dragon. The guy smirks and our boy congratulates him, obviously telling him to stall a lot and fail so they can swoop in at the end and collect a nice, fat bonus. The guy turns and says he's seriously ridiculous and walks off. In another room, Tsukino asks what they're going to do, go back to Japan? Wait around? What? Our boy says for now they're going to China, a place very close to the waterfall test, perfect for when those guys fail. He tells Misa to buy the tickets, cheapest ones possible of course. She says it'd be better to focus on buying the safest ones actually. Suddenly, a blonde girl walks into the room and says she has a request for them. Everyone's confused, wondering who this weirdo is. She introduces herself as Marie from Blauvogel. Yeah, that guild no one knows how to pronounce. Apparently all players have some kind of shared language ability, so even though she's speaking something like German, she can talk with Japanese players just fine and vice versa. With her nose in the air, Marie says she wants them to take over the mission that Blauvogel accepted. Misa says that's weird. Last she heard, that guild had 3 of the 10 transcendentals. With that kind of power, it shouldn't be a problem. Immediately, Endu asks if something happened after they signed the contract. Marie says yes. It then says that if that's the case, she can help, as long as she follows the famous Japanese proverb man, even hell's judgment depends on money. The crew already knows the poor girl is about to get extorted, but strangely, she looks excited, saying that as long as he gets paid well, he'll do the job. Then great. A bit later, they're led into another room and it's announced that the Japanese team has arrived. The guy in the center introduces himself as Daniel Keller and says it's a pleasure to meet them. He was obviously the leader of Blauvogel. Tsukino introduces herself and so does our boy. Daniel seems to recognize her name as one of the 10 Transcendentals and says again, it's a pleasure to meet her. My god, what a polite guy, annoyingly polite, shut up already. Then he gets right to the point, talking about the incident that happened with the Australia Continental mission. He says he'll come clean. They're not going to handle the mission anymore, they want their help, and will obviously let everyone know it's them completing it. Endu asks why this mission is suddenly being tossed their way, since they had just received authorization. Daniel says there's no way to hide it, so he'll just be honest. 2 out of their 3 members who were part of the 10 Transcendentals were bought out by the United States man. Everyone already kinda knew the US was keeping an eye on them, he just didn't expect those guys to leave so suddenly like that. Endu asks if he really doesn't believe that 1 Transcendental is enough and Daniel says definitely not. For a mission like this, at least 2 are required. That's why he's asking for help. Our boy already comments that Daniel seems like a very cautious man, but of course he wouldn't complain as long as he's getting a few billion. He turns to Tsukino and says it seems like something they could do, but it's her call. However, she apologizes and says unfortunately, they won't be participating. The members of the Wing of Genesis are terrified of these continental missions. Just to get them to take part in the Earth Trial Man was already a huge struggle, and now that a bunch of people have died, no one is willing to take the risk. She apologizes again, but no missions outside of Asia will be accepted by her guild. Endu then says that Gold Farmers accepts, but the only problem is that they don't have enough people, especially for something like the Desert Trial where numbers are crucial. They need at least 200 rank B players. Unfortunately, his guild doesn't even have half of that. Obviously though, he knows that Blauvogel, their guild, is a well-known mercenary group. If they could gather 150 rank B members, he could consider giving them 10% of the reward. Daniel apologizes but says they can't just lend out players like that. Every time they take part in something, they need to send in their commanders to handle the risks, provide support, and pull people out if things go bad. Our boy just says that it's impossible for him to accept. Then Daniel says that with around 200 million yen, they could make a joint operation happen. Now I'm confused. This bastard is asking for help but trying to profit at the same time. The damn capitalist is starting to sound just like our boy, who obviously refuses, saying that's way too expensive. It's practically extortion. The girls already know the poor guy's going to get the short end of the stick here. Daniel insists, saying missions cost money and Endu should know that. But Endu just answers, nope, don't know that. He starts weighing his options and decides that Daniel is already making way too much to be asking for help. That's when Marie tells Daniel that if the team is strong enough, they won't even need that much gear. Even if they only get 20% of the reward, it would still be worth it. Daniel says that might be an option, but he doesn't believe these people are that strong. He trusts Wings of Genesis, but these gold farmers, man, even the name is strange. The guild without a single member of the 10 Transcendentals wouldn't be able to do much. But the blonde girl just smiles and says that she believes they're capable anyway, because the boy standing in front of her seems very strong. She's sure he's at least stronger than her and he replies, that part's true, at least. Daniel seems offended and asks if Endo knows what kind of player Marie is. Our boy says he knows very well. She's the last remaining member of the 10 Transcendentals in his guild. Mary Keller, ranked number 7 man. Out of nowhere, she turns all dark and edgy, starts giggling, and says he's right. Then suddenly, she starts floating and asks if her brother has any idea who he's talking to. She fires an attack at our boy, Vines shoot toward him. But he grabs one midair and pulls the girl toward him. But obviously, it's all just for show. She is all cute again, saying that clearly someone who can block her attack like that isn't weak. Her brother asks what the hell she was trying to pull with that stunt. And yeah, this girl's not all there, she's glowing and everything. She says she wouldn't be able to hurt him anyway. After all, she knows very well who probably finished off the Red Spider during the Earth trial. Everyone might believe it was the Wings of Genesis that did it, but she's confident in her ability to judge people's strength. And she's sure that Tsukino Man wouldn't have been able to handle it. The real person who ended that mission could only have been Endo. And if he joined the mission in Australia, they would definitely win. Man, this girl has a sixth sense. She can feel the boy's strength from miles away. The scene jumps fast and boom, we're in the desert, with tanks rolling out and the whole group getting ready. The squad has been assembled, and they're looking more like a military unit than a bunch of hunters. There's some chatter here and there, everyone stalling a bit, but Endo says they've got to get this started now. The group is gathering for briefing and everyone's commenting that the leader this time is a guy from the Gold Farmers Guild. Then Daniel makes the official announcement. This mission would be a joint operation between them and the Gold Farmers. And that one, that's Endao, who would act as the commander this time. Our boy immediately says he's going to make one thing clear. He won't let a single person die in this battle. If anyone is unsure about a decision, they must prioritize saving their own life above all else. Each unit would receive instructions and everyone should, of course, follow him. Some soldiers are annoyed, saying you can't win a national-level mission with these kinds of heroic plans. Apparently, the protagonists signed with the guys from that guild to get $5 billion, minus their own expenses. On the other hand, for every person that dies, it's 10 million off the reward. So obviously, he doesn't want anyone dying. No way. He explains that this desert is way bigger than the previous trials. And on top of that, monsters would show up from all directions. With that said, he gives the order. Time to begin. The crew rushes out, tanks blazing, charging forward full speed, man. But then, the ground starts shaking. When they check, the first monster is approaching from 2 kilometers away. It may be a hunter's world, but the weapons are modern, and they start launching airstrikes, man. And these guys have good aim, direct hit on a moving beast. Look at these maniacs, bro. Everyone has those Walmart Iron Man gauntlets guiding missiles right on target. Endu asks how much each of those explosions is costing. The guy replies he has no idea, but they were told to only use cheap stuff, so in theory, it shouldn't be too expensive. Then Ender connects with Misa, who says satellite communication is working perfectly. Right away, he asks her to check the cost of the ammunition they're using. She starts analyzing the chemical makeup of the outer layer of the metal and says it's at least 1 million yen per explosion. Our boy drops to his knees, saying it's ridiculous that they fired that much to kill a single monster. He then tells the crew that from now on, he'll handle the creatures, just give him their location. The army keeps advancing, but suddenly some hyenas are spotted on top of a hill. Immediately, man, Endo's already looking, pulls out his dagger and dashes in. He comes from above and slashes everything before those bastards even get a shot off. Daniel wants to know why they're trying to save money when it's just $1 million per shot. He gets that saving money is good sometimes, but players need to save their cooldowns for tougher fights. Marie says that would make sense if he was actually using any skills. The guy's in disbelief. He's doing all that without using anything. And she says he needs to just accept it. That guy is way stronger than any other hunter. Just then, an alert comes in, more enemies approaching from the right. But now, man, it's Endo's squad rolling out with those guys he beat up way back at the beginning. Who remembers the crew, bro? Adrian, Ayan, and Koki. I even got the names of these 3 legends. Ayan, always with the vibrating sword in hand, already slashes down the first one. Koki, with those same tired coins as always, and Adrian throwing punches. Mary compliments them, saying that not only is Endo strong, they actually have several elite players. Another wave of monsters approaches, but Mary tells him to relax. His time to shine will come. After all, the real test hadn't even started yet. Suddenly, a tornado appears in the middle of the desert, and Endo says it's started. But they came prepared with anti-sandstorm equipment, and they start activating it, man. Our boy tells everyone to get ready and for the rest of the team to form up. From now on, visibility would be extremely low, so giving instructions would be very difficult. And the people from Gold Guild were to focus entirely on protecting and making sure no one dies. With orders given, he tells everyone to advance. The hired mercenaries are also nervous, wondering if they're really about to walk into the storm. To which someone replies, if those weaklings are going in without fear, then it can't be that bad. They form a single file line and everyone starts marching forward. But man, you couldn't see anything in there. Strangely, the sand was blocking out all the light. And that's when, right in the middle of the path, 2 huge eyes appear out of nowhere, man. When the guys glance to the side, there's a lion coming in with a swipe. They're freaked out, asking if they got separated from the main group. I thought they were just going to get smashed, but even though they got split up, one of them launched a thorn attack. The lion got hurt, and the other took the chance to slash its neck. But it wasn't going to be that easy. He nearly got clawed. He warns that he barely survived, and now it's his friend about to get bitten. But right that moment, man, The lion got turned into sushi, for real. A piece in each direction, and its head dropped to the ground while the two guys are trembling. Endu walks up, saying that was way too close. He orders them to not leave any openings in the defense. Unlike them from the Gold Farmers Guild, man, these guys die real easy. They need to start seeing every head of theirs as $10 million being burned. The guys bow their heads, saying they understood and will protect them better. Daniel then orders that anyone struggling with the sandstorm should move closer. And Murray tells everyone to always keep their eyes ahead and stay near the person in front. Anyone who gets separated in this place is definitely going to die. Suddenly, a huge light appears in front of everyone. The clueless folks are smiling, saying they've reached the end of the storm. Everyone keeps moving toward the light, but they end up at a kind of altar. A mana pillar with 100% HP, and a guardian barrier with full 100% defense. That was the test of the indestructible sun. And man, suddenly the sun shows a smiley face like it came straight out of Teletubbies, welcoming the foolish challengers. Murray reads something and says that the sun doesn't attack anyone outside the barrier. And by attacking the 3 pillars surrounding the sun, they can weaken it. Since the pillars are outside the barrier, you can hit them anytime safely. The problem is, they're extremely tough. That's exactly why they needed a lot of people. Our boy says they'll handle the main pillar, while the Blavobel team can take care of the side ones. The guys ask if this pillar is basically just a punching bag, and he says, yeah, pretty much. But suddenly, Murray changes her mind, saying she's interested in fighting the main one instead. Their original plan involved a strategy for facing a continental-level threat. Endu apologizes but says no. His calculations show that the combined strength of everyone here isn't enough to go straight for the boss. Not to mention even hitting the pillars barely does anything. So it's better if they get started right now. She tries to insist, but he already pulls out his knife right in her face and tells her 10 billion. That's what they'd owe him if they started disobeying orders. They already agreed to all this in a contract, so she better just follow orders because he can't guarantee anyone's safety otherwise. She, a bit awkward, replies that that's a little more than she can afford. Endu sighs and says that, unfortunately, she'll have to follow orders then. Now is time for them to start the attack. And there they go, beating the pillar from all sides. Yudo celebrates, saying the one they're hitting already turned red, and someone else confirms the same. Our girl praises them and tells the gold farmers to proceed to the next phase of the strategy. Meanwhile, the sun is just watching. Suddenly, Marie tells her brother that what she mentioned the other day, he better start reconsidering. He tries to argue, man, but what's this? She already put her hand on his neck, asking why he's trying to go against her plan. Now he's all twisted up, coming to talk to our boy and asking him for a favor. He points at the sun and explains that he wants his guild to handle that. Confused, Endu asks why. Is it because they think they can handle it? Or because they were hired to? Daniel explains that they were contacted because failure wasn't an option. On the other hand, with Endu there, even if they failed, they'd have peace of mind knowing he could finish the job. Endu realizes they're just using him as backup. He asks if Daniel forgot that the penalty per conflict they discussed was 10 billion. Daniel says he knows that very well. Our boy reminds him again that even if they kill the boss, they won't share the reward. He'd be taking all the risk, potentially losing 10 billion, just to walk away with the same payout. Daniel, though, says it's fine. He's not here for financial gain. His sister tells him to keep talking and he's sweating bullets. He says they're there to gain experience fighting a continental-level creature. All the strongest players in their guild were present. They were risking their lives and he wanted that risk to benefit the team. Murray says that players are just like that. When a truly difficult challenge appears, they naturally want to try. Just because the game has become reality now doesn't mean they're going to start acting like cowards. She asks if our boy understands. He replies, nope, I don't get it at all. But to him it doesn't matter. As long as they pay the penalty, he actually prefers it that way. Daniel tells him not to worry and says the funds were already transferred. He could check the account. Our boy thanks him, saying that if the money's in the bank, he really won't interfere. That's when the leader of the idiots says it's perfect. He only asks for our boy to keep attacking the pillars while they fight the boss. Endu says he got it, but at the same time he activates the soul eye. Strangely, he doesn't see any reaction. And it looks like now he can extract a night soul fragment from this rank C guy, which means the condition to receive the money was actually receiving a full 10 billion out of nowhere. Whoa, this fits too perfectly. Almost like the author wrote the setup just for this moment. Wait a second, I'm all messed up here, guys. Actually, he didn't receive the full payment. He knows he needs the 10 billion, and since he didn't get the night soul from this guy, it means he didn't actually get the full amount. Looks like the dude only sent 5 billion as the initial payment. Our boy makes an offer. He says if they pay extra when things get risky, he'll save everyone. The fool agrees, but Murray says it won't be necessary. They were choosing to fight because they wanted to. Besides, if they got scared mid-battle, all they had to do was cross that line and they'd be safe. Paying 10 billion for something that easy would be ridiculous. Endu's starting to get tired of this girl and says fine, they can do whatever they want. He's just going to keep handling the pillars. Mary thanks him and tells her team to get ready. Daniel explains that they're not supposed to attack the sun, but rather the pillar beneath it. The main unit would be led by Marie, and they'd break the monster's barrier together. Once that main barrier dropped, they use airstrikes to destroy everything for good. No one should lower their guard the moment they cross that line. Then everyone charges forward, saying the battle is about to begin. Daniel activates Knight's intimidation, pulling the monster's aggro toward him. And man, the team went in with pure courage, bro. I'm starting to think everyone's about to get roasted. The sun was already prepping a Kamehameha, saying the idiots would finally receive a peaceful death. The first attack goes straight at Daniel, and to be fair, he actually manages to defend himself. He holds off the pressure from the laser, activates his water enchantment, and suddenly smoke rises. Looks like his defense is enchanted with water, so since the enemy is using fire, he's kinda canceling out with water, and he's still managing to hold up. Marie says that if the taunt worked and the creature is in a weakened state, they're going to win this. The soldiers push forward, get battle buff from the warriors, Marie starts sending out her attacks, and another guy charges in with his axe. The attacks are obviously landing clean because it's a stationary pillar, you can't really miss. Everyone's feeling confident, until the sun's expression changes. Some triangles begin appearing around it, and the sun says that now it's really about to begin. Suddenly, lasers everywhere and nobody can dodge in time. Marie realizes even the fastest humans wouldn't be able to escape this. She yells for everyone to fall back, man, grabs a dagger, and everyone's screaming, asking what the hell she's about to do. She gives herself a light cut, blood flies into the air, but instantly transforms into a cloud of petals. And not just petals, man. Spider legs come out of her body. Well, not legs, right? Spiders don't have feet, they have patas. She activates the Blood Rose skill. But now that I think about it, right, it's a plant-based skill, which is one of the weakest against sun or fire, isn't it? The cursed sun's still smiling and fires another barrage of attacks. But now that she's turned into a sis-speed, which is, if a bike has 2 legs and someone who walks upright with 6 legs must be a sis-speed. Makes sense or doesn't? Her speed is off the charts, man, and she's dodging effortlessly. Even Yuto, known for his speed, is impressed. Endu comments that it really is an incredible ability completely focused on offensive power. Each thorn she throws deals as much damage as a full attack from a normal player. The boss of barrier is already down to 62%. Watching her attack, Endu comments that the only issue is that she's using her own blood, which means she's burning through her HP. Daniel praises her. Not even high-level players know that kind of detail. Then Cookie asks if they won't need the machines they prepared to destroy the boss. Endu says this is just the beginning. This boss, like all others, gets stronger as he loses more HP, and the real difficulty starts after the first barrier breaks. Right now, the barrier is at 50% HP. Suddenly, the ground under the trial begins to rise. The sun announces that if they're idiots offering up a sacrifice, he'll accept it. Marie, even so, still dodging, man. She quickly realizes that now that she's closer to the sun, it's a lot harder to react. Still, she's confident in her mobility, until the sun summons another dozen triangles. She's sure that doesn't make sense. She wonders if the pillar is no longer weakened. But when she looks back, it's still red, meaning the boss is still debuffed. With no options left, man, at least she's smart enough to back off immediately. But right at that moment, the sun's barrier expands. It announces that for them to proceed, they must offer a sacrifice. From now on, to attack the sun's barrier, at least one person must stand at the altar. If no player is on the altar, the sun will regenerate up to 50% HP. And Marie, who might just compliment it for being smart, immediately walks back in and says, "All right then, I'm not letting him heal." But the moment she steps into the arena, the first laser catches her legs. But she's not shaken. She says she's getting used to the speed now. She keeps dodging and throws a foreign spear at the pillar. Our boy praises her. Normally, anyone hit by that laser would retreat, but she was pushing forward. Meanwhile, Daniel, panicking, is asking if the difficulty isn't about to spike even more. Endu casually replies, "Unfortunately, yeah, as soon as the barrier breaks." Of course, if he wanted Endu to help Marie, all he had to do was offer 5 billion. Daniel asks why it jumped up so much. It was 1 billion earlier when he offered to help at risk. To which Endu says, "That was the upfront price, man. And obviously, the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets." Daniel's furious, but says he won't accept it. He trusts Marie to win. Endu just shrugs and says, "All right then, let's see." At that point, the barrier was sitting at 49.7%, which meant the girl wasn't even dealing proper damage. And of course, that's exactly what she noticed. Problem is, while dodging, one of the lasers came straight for her. She managed to dodge 3 midair, but there were like 5, 6, 7 more coming her way. And damn, her spider legs and her arm got shredded right there, sent flying and groaning in agony as her team screamed in panic. Daniel asks why no one's rushing in to help, and they all say it's impossible. If even Marie in that form couldn't handle it, they had 0 chance. Poor girl's trying to crawl out, man, but the sun lands another hit behind her thigh. She screams in pain and drops to the floor. Now everyone's watching uneasy. Obviously, that's when Daniel drops to his knees, begging Endu for help. But man, we already know our boy is cruel. He says the new price tag is 100 billion. Even so, Daniel agrees, says he'll pay everything he has just to not lose her. Deal made. Boom, an explosion in the arena, and there's our boy rushing in at full speed. At the same time, there are 8 more lasers coming to finish her off. For a second, it looks like she's done, but the next, he's already there catching her, just as the laser passes. Since she was near the entrance, he pulls her out, lays her down, and the healers rush in to help. And hopefully they can rebuild limbs in this world, because yeah, she's a little Kotoka now. Apparently though, with high-level healers, at least her life wasn't in danger anymore. Daniel thanks him, saying that if not for him, Marie would have died. Endu says there's no need to thank him, just send over 10 billion. Ah, look at that. Humble now, lower the price, huh, you sneaky devil. Daniel thanks him again, and says now he finally understands that Japanese proverb about kneeling to even the devil if money's involved. Daniel sends the payment and boom. Endo receives a Night Soul fragment from a rank C. Suddenly, Marie starts laughing, rising up like a lunatic cackling. Daniel asks what's going on. She just says this is absurd. She, one of the 10 Transcendentals, stood no chance against that thing. Now she's crying, man, and I actually feel bad for her. She says she's completely insignificant. Poor thing gave it her all, tried honestly, fought hard, but yeah, she didn't stand a chance. Her brother compliments her, says she did great, but she just yells that it's impossible. Even after using Blood Rose, she couldn't even deal 1% damage. She knows she has no chance. She says that monster was created so humans couldn't beat it. But obviously someone nearby says, that's not true. The trials are meant to be beaten. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. Miri wants to know how he has the nerve to say they're going to win this after watching her fight. But our boy just marches forward with the team, saying, that's exactly why we were hired. Fighting's the core business of the money farmers. Liar. He's trying to act all epic, but we know that's straight up cap. The siblings stay silent, just watching to see what this crew's about to pull. Actually, scratch that. Maria asks her brother to carry her to the pillar so she can keep attacking while they fight. The girl is unstoppable, man. She's a beast. As long as she's alive, she can still use abilities even without all 4 limbs. Oh, and apparently limb regeneration is possible. So yeah, it's not the end of the world after all. Out of nowhere, the brother picks her up, saying they need to trust the plan of those guys. Everyone inside the circle is already firing a bunch of attacks at the sun's triangles. Ah man, the strategy wasn't even that complicated. Instead of just sitting there getting zapped by lasers every second, why not destroy the source of the lasers? Sounds like me when I'm playing something and realize the solution to my huge problem was something obvious all along. Of course, it's easy to kill the lasers when you've got an Endu up front, dodging everything and pulling aggro. Marie explains that this is the strategy for this mission, man. One person draws aggro and dodges everything, while the rest hit the triangles and the boss. Everyone's yelling the same order that Endu gave. Don't use any major skill until the barrier is broken. The beast is going wild, but the HP is still sitting at 45%. But from a distance, the siblings already noticed. The strategy looked unstable, but workable. Daniel asks if she thinks she would have thought of something like that. She says probably not. This plan only works if you've got someone who can guarantee they won't get hit even once. Because yeah, if the person under the sun gets hit, they lose a limb, then it's game over. Daniel asks if Endu is faster than her. She says not in her Blood Rose form. But he seems to have way more combat experience and can predict every single attack. That's more than a game mechanic. It's a technique trained over many years. In that moment, Daniel starts wondering. Someone with that much time to train could only be one person. Obviously, the last of the Transcendentals. She says she has no idea, but he's at least a player who could go head-to-head with that person. Just then, our boy lands another hit and the Guardian's barrier hits 0%. Everything shatters and everyone yells to get ready. It was time to unleash all firepower to destroy the pillar for good. All the ultimate abilities no one had used yet. Boom, they're all activated at once. Explosions and mayhem all over the pillar. The siblings wonder if they're really going to pull it off this easily. But now, man, the sun looks terrifying. It says the challengers are brave, and that their reward shall be death. Now, any attack from the sun is instant kill, bro. As soon as the crew hesitates, someone throws a blade charged with aura, first to the side, then up high. There he was, our boy, all transcendental. He gives the sun a death stare, and the sun stares right back. The attacks come flying at him, but Endu just smiles. The attacks seem like they landed full force, and everyone thinks he's dead. But Endu says, attacks that don't hurt the body are perfect for me. He's using the skill Soul Reserve, which delays death for 10 seconds. Immediately, he rushes toward the pillar and starts striking it. 7.32 seconds, he activates Soul Catastrophe. Now he goes full anime mode. Slashes, flashes, X, Z's, turning everything into a Minecraft cube. 3.80 seconds and the sun saying, impossible. Screaming, but more slashes rain down. It's over, bro. He dashes toward the sun and blows it up. It turns into scorched rubble. The main mana pillar is destroyed and the sun trial is complete, man. Everyone's cheering and our boy says, this payout's gonna be sweet. Obviously, he got the last hit reward, and also became the first player in the world to clear a continental challenge. Since he already had the title for being the first to complete a national challenge, he gets an extra bonus. The 2 titles fuse, and now he deals 100% more damage to both bosses and creatures in large-scale challenges. Endu just smiles, thinking back to the time when he used to play and had none of that and was already broken. Everyone's watching the guy and the system pops up asking to register the name of the one who completed it. And obviously, he puts like this video that helps Mamoru make more juicy content for his viewers, activate the cheeky little bell, and I'm out.